Hello and good evening to everyone. Welcome to Dragon Forge After Dark. Today for Faction Focus Necrons. Today we are joined by our special guest Esteban, our good friend. Hello, Esteban.
Hello.
We will not be having Teacher Mikey, for Teacher Mikey has ditched us to go on a date, the fool.
Oh,
So yeah,
he's
he's
not a robot
trying.
fan. He's not a robot fan.
Yeah, he's trying to make Lande disappointing. So, so we will be having Mr. Esteban with us here today, at least in a disembodied voice, with his photo there as an avatar. So, yes, today we will be discussing the Necrons, one of the first codexes to be released in ninth edition. It was tied with the Space Marines, right? Same release date sila.
Same ba? Or slightly after.
So,
Wait, no.
something like that.
Very,
Yeah,
very close because they were the two factions in the starter box.
yes, they were. So, they were one of the first released, and they have been mostly left behind by the power creep, but they
Yeah.
recently got this really nice update, where a lot of the things that were missing the core keyword were given the core keyword and thus became good again. So we will
You
be
just needed
discussing.
to add a single keyword to a bunch of data sheets, and then suddenly the synergies are insane. Well, maybe not
Yes,
insane, but there's so much more flexibility now.
indeed, destroyers are actually usable again. Thank you.
Thank you.
My 18 destroyers, thank you. So, tonight on Faction Focus Friday, what kind of war game fits your lifestyle? Why is this faction for you or not? How can you get started fast and how can you scale up? So, first of all, we're going to talk about whether you want to go for a big Warhammer 40k army or just go for skirmish and kill team. So, Warhammer 40k is, of course, a big army with lots of models. It's all about creating the spectacle with huge diorama set pieces, and with this army in particular having the biggest Warhammer model that I personally own. It's a huge investment in terms of assembly time and playing time, but not painting time for Necrons. Yeah, it's actually faster to paint your minis than to assemble your minis for Necron.
Correct.
Yes, and it's not
Especially
necessarily
if it's
expensive.
Tomb Blades.
Indeed. So, and the Ghost Arc, God, it's the Ghost Arc.
Oh god, it's the Ghost Arc.
So, it's not necessarily expensive. Especially this faction, which comes in the current starter set. And there's also Kill Team, where you go with a small squad with a few models. It's up close and personal. It's model to model face offs. There's a smaller time investment both in painting time and assembly time and painting time. So your painting time will be absolutely negligible in Kill Team. Um, And unfortunately, there's a tendency for a lot of kill team players to go, gotta catch them all and collect all the factions, meaning that it sometimes ends up as expensive as like a big army. So really up to you how you wanna go. And first of all, we have to discuss who are the Necrons. Mr. Esteban, do you want to discuss the history of the Necrons?
Okay, so TLDR first. Okay, so basically the Necrons used to be a flesh and blood race. They were living on a planet that was orbiting a very, very, very over radiating sun. So they had very, very, very short lives.
Everyone
So
had cancer.
eventually, yeah, pretty much. Uh, they eventually made a deal with a thing they discovered was eating their sun, one of the Catan, the star gods. Their deal was basically the Catan are going to give them the technology to survive longer in exchange for, well, that came after the deal happened. So the Necrons go through with the biotransference, and it turns out all of them become basically zombie robots. Incredibly high tech, incredibly hard to kill, but everyone except the nobility basically lost most of their sentience. Very unfortunate. So the last Silent King, the leader of the Necrons, decided to get back at the Catan by breaking their gods into shards and turning them into Pokemon. hence the Pokeball. So they got angry and turned their gods into weapons of war, which still sometimes have sentience, but most of the time are basically used as the battlefield devastating actual Pokemon.
Yes. Esteban, you forgot about the old ones.
I was trying to get just the race just by themselves. Oh right, that's why they needed the power to fight the old ones.
Yes.
The war in heaven.
All right. So there was a thing called the War in Heaven. Basically, the
Mhm.
Necron tier, who were extremely short-lived because everyone had cancer, were very jealous of the old ones who were basically immortal psychic beings. Um, so they declared war against them, and got their asses handed to them, and that's
Mhm.
what drove them to make a deal with the Catan. After which they totally asswiped the old ones, and the old ones created a bunch of other races for the purposes of war, including the orcs, the Eldar, etc. The
Especially the
Hrud,
orcs.
yeah, especially the orcs. So it was pretty crazy, and during that war, um, it fucked the warp up so much, which was then like a pretty calm, chill place to be into like the churning mass of violence and like chaos that it is today. So you can thank the Necrons for that.
Yep.
So eventually, after they won the war in heaven, and they decided to depose the Catan. So the Silent King Zarek decided to depose the Catan with the help of the deceiver over here on the far right, who told the other Catan, "Hey, you get stronger if you eat the other Catan." And somehow the idiots believed the deceiver, who was named the messenger at the time, because no one would believe someone who was actually called the deceiver, um, unless I guess you're a Marco supporter or something. So yeah, um, so they basically started eating each other, and the remaining Necrons that were uneaten were shattered into shards, which later became the Pokemon that we use today. So yeah, it's a pretty cool history. And then Sarek basically destroyed the command protocols for the entire that allow him to control the entirety of the Necron race, and like went away in shame. It's like, oh no, I have caused like so much harm,
Yeah,
and I shall
self
go
exile
away. He
outside the
self-exiled
galaxy.
himself until he found the Tyranids, and it's like, fuck, I gotta come back.
Right?
Which he eventually did in recent times.
Hmm.
So, building and painting Necrons. As discussed before, building Necrons is harder than painting the Necrons, because painting the Necrons is just this: it's lead belcher, Nuln oil, and then you dry brush Necron compound, and you're done.
The
You add a
longest
bit of
step in this
green,
process is
waiting for the
waiting for the
Nuln oil
null
to
oil to
dry.
dry.
Yep, it's really just waiting for the Nuln oil to dry, guys. Like you can finish painting 10 Necron warriors in half an hour, and the longest step there is just waiting for the non all to dry, honestly. So you watch like an episode of a TV show or an anime in between. So
Maybe even just
Necrons on
half
the
an
tabletop
episode.
are actually pretty cool. They usually come out in a huge silver or bronzish tide of mostly Necron warriors and a lot of constructs, and sometimes even floaty pyramids and floaty Pokemon star gods and Hon 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 croissants.
More on that later.
Yes. So, Teacher Mikey, who is off on his date, says that Necrons in skirmish combat are one of those gatekeeper factions from the previous edition, but have taken quite a nosedive in current kill team. They're very slow, and that's a bad game in a game where mobility is king. You'll have to leverage your resilience and decent shooting if you want to make the most out of playing this faction. TLDR, they kinda crap. So Necron skill team. Tomb World Kill Team consists of two fire teams selected from Warriors, Immortals, Flayed Ones, and Death Marks. Unfortunately, if you take the last two, you won't be playing the game at all. Flayed Ones won't make it to combat on time, and your Death Marks won't be moving because of the heavy. Playing Tomb World essentially locks you into choosing Warriors fire team consisting of 5 models and an Immortals fire team of 4 models. It'll be hard to win with them, but are fun to play as they have good shooting and are hard to kill. Always take the Gauss Flares on the Warriors, which is, the opposite of what people normally do now in Big 40k, which is they take the Gauss Reapers. So, TLDR, Necrons are bad in kill team. They are really bad. So, let's wait for them to get a White Dwarf update. So, Necron Dynasties, Mr. Esteban?
Okay, so first of all, we have the named dynasties from the canon. Mefrit, who are your shooty guys, you get a little bit of an extra distance for your guns, and you get a little bit of AP at close range. Novok, you get slightly farther charge distances. Nefrek, basically always advance 6 and you phase through terrain. Nihilak, you get anti AP if you're in your deployment zone. Zarakan, you basically get a free single reroll per unit and a save against mortal wounds. Sautek, you get to reroll leadership checks and you have better rapid fire.
Yes.
And of the custom dynasties that you can get with customized backgrounds, the most prevalent is nicknamed Eternal Expansionists, which is a combination of traits that will allow you a 6-inch start of the game move as well as your entire army has objective
As
secured.
OPSEC.
It's everybody uses this. It's just too good.
Yeah, it's fast, it's campy, and it's so broken that it's guaranteed to go away next codex. Like, enjoy it while it lasts. It will go away.
The only other dynasty that gets used as nearly as much is Novok because they make melee Necron armies terrifying.
Indeed. Just for reference, the two traits that you need for Eternal Expansionists are the Relentlessly Expansionist and the Eternal Conquerors.
Correct.
And I feel like Zarekan could get a lot more use now with the Mortal Wound defense, seeing that Thousand Suns and Grey Knights are being seen on a lot of top tables.
True.
Yeah,
Plus, that
so
free
that may
single
happen.
reroll per unit adds up a
Hmm.
lot over time.
Indeed, but like it's just not as flashy as the Novox melee blenders or Eternal freaking expansionists. Gods. Like there is no reason to ever take Nihilak when Eternal expansionists exist.
Correct.
Yes. So, command protocols. I have never actually used these. Like the time I have played Necrons in ninth edition, I did the mix between Novok and Eternal Expansionists. So like yeah, no command protocols. So Esteban, can you tell us about these?
So you basically assign some sort of code to your entire army per battle round that's ongoing. You choose these before the game, depending on how you think the game is going to be going. You can get different buffs such as slightly faster movement, slightly better reanimation protocols for that turn, depending on how you think uh, the battle's gonna go for you. There's two options within each command protocol per turn. So when that turn comes up, you choose which one's more relevant to you. Some of the named dynasties will allow you to choose both for thematic reasons for that specific protocol.
Mhm.
And then we have reanimation protocols, which are basically the core of the entire Necron flavor. Your guys will stand right back up if you roll well.
Yes, people do not die when they are killed.
Correct. Well, at least us. So
So
the way that
yeah,
yeah,
we'll get to
the way
that
that
later, Michael.
the way that works is every time your model dies after that attack is finished, for every model that's down currently, for each of their wounds you will roll a die, and on a 5 up you put it into a pool. For every uh, sum total of wounds for one model. In that pool, you bring back one model. So, for example, you roll 10 dice, you roll 3 5 ups, you can bring back three 1 wound models, one 2 wound model, or one 3 wound model, which kind of makes it mean that single wound models benefit way more from reanimation protocols than any other model,
which make destroyers sad.
especially the heavy ones because
Mhm.
they have
Yeah,
4
4
wounds. So
wounds.
good luck rolling 4 5 ups. But we can get around this.
Yes, there is a way. There is a way. So 40k game times, as usual. Like command patrol is the smallest at 500 points, and the combat patrol boxes usually do equal to a combat patrol, thus being combat patrol boxes. So one of those can get you started immediately. Combat patrol games usually last up to an hour, while Strike Force 2000 points, which is the normal pointage used in tournaments, lasts up to 3 hours. So in most tournaments, you'll have like 2.5 hours. So you'll have to play fast. So Force organization chart to get started, you'll need an HQ and one troop's choice for a patrol detachment. That's the minimum you need to be able to play Warhammer 40k. There are other detachment types like the battalion detachment, the brigade detachment, but this is the basic, and this is how you get started with the um, combat patrol box or a starter box. So, we're gonna get started on the Necrons troops. They are your basic units for your battle line. They're your objective takers, and this is where the Silver Tide lives. There are only 2 units here, so let's get started with them, Mr. Esteban.
Yep. You have your Necron Warriors, your absolute basic battle line infantry. Pretty much a Space Marine except with a bit less rules. So they're the heart of your dynasty. Extremely tough with your points because they have a Space Marine stat line, fours across the board mostly. Very tough for their points because of reanimation protocols and the fact that they have one wound. And because they are Necron core with the Dynasty keyword, there is an incredible number of Dynasty buffs that they can get from your HQs. They have two weapon options. One is the normal Gauss Flayer, and the other one is a close range Gauss Reaper that hits a little bit harder at the cost of being range 12. They are slow by themselves, even moving at only 5 inches. However, there's a buff to mitigate that. And they
Mhm.
also have access to the Ghost Arc for
Indeed.
transport.
Immortals.
Ah, okay. Immortals are basically tougher and shootier warriors to get one better save. Um, they also actually have the smallest minimum troop size in terms of points. The smallest warrior squad is 10, and the smallest immortal squad is 5. So picking a squad of 5 immortals is the cheapest way to fill out your troops cost. If you want to put the points in other places such as elites or heavy support.
Elites.
Oh, so much to do in elites. They are
Elites.
longer range than warriors. Their guns are slightly heavier, and they have a weapon option that does not need them to get closer for increased effectiveness. The Tesla carbine. Unfortunately, they can't use the Ghost Arc. The Ghost Arc can only carry warriors and infantry characters, and they have
Indeed.
still just one attack in melee.
So, Necron HQs, they are leader units for your army. They're expensive but powerful for the most part. We also have like cheap and plentiful buff bots and independent units, and they are your premier Veil of Darkness carriers. Esteban, tell us about the Veil.
So the Veil of Darkness is one of the most commonly taken relics in the entire faction. The reason
You
for
always
this
bring it.
being, you always bring it. Like if you have one choice, this is going to be it, because it lets you reposition both the character and one nearby unit anywhere else on the battlefield outside 9 inches of an enemy unit. So you
Yes.
can get right into punching range if you get lucky with a charge, or punching range with your very strong but short range guns, such as the aforementioned Gauss Flayers.
Yeah. Gauss Reapers.
Reapers. Reapers.
Yeah. This is how people have been playing Necron since the start of 9th edition. It's just teleport the Ghost Reapers in. But now there are more things that can be Veiled of Darkness now because there are more core units than ever.
Indeed.
Dude. So let's start with the Necron Overlord for our HQs.
Look at him, isn't he cool? So he's
He has a
incredibly
scythe.
flashy. Yeah, right, right. Otto got that model the moment it came out. It's so pretty.
Yes, I remember.
So he's your flashiest unnamed commander on foot with one of the best buffs. My will be done. Gives a target unit blanket +1 to hit on melee and ranged. That's it. Extremely good.
Straight up.
Straight up. They also have Relentless March. A lot of your other HQs have Relentless March, but it's a bubble of +1 moves. So your HQs usually move 6 inches. Your infantry usually move 5. But if they're near one of their HQs, they'll get the Relentless March buff and they'll be able to move at the same speed as your HQs.
Yay.
So it has mostly melee options when it comes to war gear, and the most popular one for trying to be fighty in melee is the War Scythe, the thing it's holding right now. It's so cool. Always get it.
hmm
It's cool.
I believe the one in the starter set actually has a kind of shooty loadout.
Mhm. I believe so as well. That would be the basic Staff of Light, which is also rather decent shooting, although only 18 inches.
He has the arrow thing, right? The tachyon arrow.
Oh, that? Ah, yes, the one-use railgun.
Yes. So,
Very powerful, but you're gambling a lot of damage on a single shot. So,
which will
up to
miss
you,
when you need
really.
it.
Right, right. So,
S- Catacomb Command Barge. Here we
this is
go.
what
This is my
happens when,
boy.
right? Same. These things are so fun. They're so fast. They used to be even more fun, but they're still cool. The Catacomb Command Barge is pretty much exactly the same thing as if you put an Overlord on a chariot. It fights exactly the same, but it has an extra gun. It's tougher. It has more wounds, and it's faster. Um, Also, the chariot gives him slightly longer range for his My Will Be Done buff, and it gives him access to quantum shielding so that he can't be wounded on anything less than a 4. So, this is what you want to run if you're trying to support much faster striker units, such as later on we'll see Wraiths, Scorpex, now that they're core. So, yeah, very
Yes,
fun.
Corpex are so good. Corpex.
Yeah, and it still only has 9 wounds, so it still benefits from Lookout Sir.
hmm Really good. Back in 6th edition, you used to be able to put any character in a chariot. So you could put your named characters in here, but now no more. It's just the generic Overlord. So the Necron Lured.
So, kind of like a lieutenant, but also not really. It's a slightly
hmm
cheaper, less fighty overlord. Loses My Will Be Done, still has Relentless March though, but gains the Lord's Will, which is you target a core unit, and every time they make an attack, they can reroll once. It's strictly weaker than +1 to hit. However, they do stack if you want to take both of them. But if you have to
hmm
pick one, go for the Overlord.
Yeah, and there are other uses for your other slots than a Necron Lord. So
Yeah,
probably just give him a miss, especially since he's
Webster.
Webster exclusive. Yeah, the Royal Warden.
Ah, the shootier lieutenant. So decent shooting, pretty like kind of melee. There's no benefits at all. Still has relentless march, but has a different buff. As we said, this faction is incredibly heavy on buffs. It allows a targeted unit to be able to fall back and still shoot and charge. So very good at helping your army receive charges. Ideally, you don't want to be receiving charges; you want to be punching. But this is good for shooty armies that have enemy units get past their screens. So if you're running big blobs of warriors walking forward, like how I usually play, because Silvertide, you don't.
Silver
If they
Tide.
get stuck in melee, they won't be able to use all their guns. You want them to use their guns, so you bring one of these guys.
hmm So unfortunately, you can only get this guy in the current Recruit Edition starter set. So though it is a pretty good deal for any Necron player since it gives you the Royal Warden and a squad of Necron warriors, which you need a lot of. So the Technomancer, yes, my
Yes,
boy,
yes.
yes. Yes, yes,
one of the
yes.
first new units to be released. So this guy is absolutely essential. Well, previously before the buff, he was absolutely essential if you were running canoptic units because either he could follow up with them with this canoptic cloak, which gives him an incredible amount of speed and lets him repair better, or a canoptic control node, which gave canoptic units +1 to their to hits. However, after the core buff, Rites of Reanimation now works on way more units, and it just straight up brings back one unit, no roll required. One model, no roll
Yes.
required. So this is how you get around reanimation protocols on high wound count models.
Locust heavy destroyers coming back every turn, just like attack bikes.
Yeah. Okay, so do we need to roll 4 5-ups in a row? No, we just
No.
use this guy.
Indeed,
Um,
he's so good.
One thing I would like to note before we discuss all the other cryptex, because all of these are cryptex, is that they take up one less slot in your force organization chart as long as you have another noble above them in rank.
Hmm.
So you can basically have two cryptex in one slot as long as you have a lord or an overlord or something even higher above them,
Yeah, which you will usually have.
which you will usually use. The reason you might want that other slot is because of one of the other cryptex later.
Indeed. So the next one is the Psychomancer, which I still haven't built. Still
Look
in
at
the
him, he has
box.
no legs. Anyway,
Yes,
um, he
I'm calling him
is
Lieutenant Dan. You ain't
he
got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
he considering that he has to roll against the enemy unit's leadership to mess with them, it can be a little inconsistent at times. However, when he does get to use his Harbinger of Despair ability successfully, he can absolutely screw with your opponent's scoring plans. He can completely stop a unit from performing an action or make one fail if it's in progress. You can make a unit lose objective secured, which is really good compare if you put him in an army that has entirely objective secured units.
Eternal expansionists.
You can have advanced rolls and charge rolls for the selected unit. Alright. Or your opponent cannot overwatch or set to defend and fights last. So very useful, but you have to stick your role.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And it's gonna be useless against certain really high leadership armies, like other
Right?
Necrons.
Like other Necrons who are 10 across the board. To be
Hmm.
fair though,
Hmm.
3d6 on average rolls slightly higher than 10, but are you really going to be gambling this on a 50-50?
Indeed. Probably not. But
Probably not.
orcs are probably gonna be fucked so hard.
Oh god, yeah.
So here we go, the Chronomancer, the second of the good cryptics.
Look at him, he's got some funky Rubik's Cube stuff.
Indeed.
Anyway, he's
And he
the
has that
other
cool
super
orb
useful
thing.
one. Right, right. He's got the other useful stuff, particularly the Chronometron. It's a buff, yes, more buffs.
Yes.
You can put this buff on a target unit, it gains a 5 plus invul and rerollable charges.
Invuln and charges, guys. So, so good.
This is done in your command phase, so you can do it before moving. So maybe you should do this on, I don't know, a Novok melee unit
Mm-hmm.
that just got
Mm-hmm.
Veil of Darkness forward, so you have a rerollable
Indeed.
8-inch charge target.
Scorptech destroyers, anyone?
hmm This is
Yep.
one of the few cryptex, I think it's the only cryptech that comes stock with an invulnerable save. And also, unlike most other cryptex, it can actually shoot. It has a good gun.
Mm.
It's one
Yep.
shot, but it's a good gun.
May I just note that his staff totally looks like Saruman's.
Paint him as Saruman. Just do that.
Yes. Yes. Give him a longer beard. And whenever you use him, talk in like the voice of Sir Christopher Lee.
You need to give him a wig.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Also, oh, can we go back to one? There's
Sure.
something I forgot to mention. So, these counter-temporal mines that I put on the slides, these are technically relics, but they are a second set of relics that Necrons have access to that only Cryptex can use. So there's a general pool, and then some of them can only be used by certain kinds of Cryptech. The one that the Chronomancer can use is the counter-temporal mines, which you basically plant on an enemy unit and it just cannot charge. Well, okay. It doesn't cancel the charge, but it just makes it way harder for them to charge. So there are many other cryptech arcana that are equipable, but this one is one of the more prevalent ones. And if I recall correctly, it only costs a very minor points increase for their utility.
Rip White Scars.
Oof.
So the Plasmancer.
He's a damage bot. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's it.
He comes in your the Indomitus box set, and yeah, he's now web store exclusive as part of the Royal Court. Not really required. The We talked about the other three cryptex. He's easily the least among the lot.
If you think about it, he's basically just kind of a mortal wound bot sometimes.
Yeah, he's also the least cool model. Like, look at the other guys.
Right?
Look at him.
He's just
He's
standing there or
inferior.
floating
Yeah,
there.
inferior. He also has no legs. So, next is the Locust Lord. Aha! This used to be my go-to Lord in the previous edition. He's a Lord but for Destroyer units. He can be geared for fightiness, but why bring a Locust Lord when you can bring the Scorpec Lord? Gods, he is the Lord of Murder. He will murder things. He's absolute death in melee. You bring him with Scorpec Destroyers for even more murder. He has that aura of what's the aura again?
Uh, he has what's it called? What's it called? United in Destruction. So that's a 6-inch buff of reroll 1 in wounds, which is fine for destroyer cults because they all reroll hits of 1 anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And he has like so many weapons. He has an anti-horde flensing claw. He has an anti-terminator hyperface harvester.
Correct. And he
And he
still has
also
a
has
gun.
a gun.
He still
He
has a
also has a
gun.
gun. He
He
has
still
an
has a gun.
enigmatic annihilator, which is good against hordes.
Mm.
So really good. So he's honestly amazing. Unfortunately, he cannot take resurrection orb to resurrect locusts like the yeah. So it's
Mm.
very sad. Like
He
neither
doesn't
of
have the
these guys
fingers to
can take
hold that ball.
yeah. Weirdly enough, Mr. Locust Lord also cannot take the resurrection orb
No,
anymore.
yes, he can. The locust can.
Can? Can?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh, last I checked cannot.
Huh. Um, One thing I will mention though
Yeah.
is
Oh right,
Scorpic.
he can, but if he does, he cannot take a phylactery.
Correct.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
Scorpic Lord really reminds me of Dwayne Johnson, Scorpion King.
Yes, yes, from the Mummy 2.
Correct.
Not from the actual Scorpion King spin-off movie.
No,
Yeah,
definitely not.
where he just looks like The Rock.
Correct.
So, Imhotep the Stormlord, the first of the named characters. Michael was asking before what Dynasty Overlord hero is good for noobs.
Behold,
Imhotep the Stormlord.
because okay, so one of the downsides of taking Imhotep is that you're locked to Southtech
Mm-hmm.
Dynasty, which is not necessarily the strongest. However, in terms of usability on the field, he gives you double my will be done, so you can buff 2 units with +1 to
Yes.
hit. He's good in melee. He has decent shooting, and he has a once per game lightning strike. You just point at an enemy, it gets struck by lightning, and everything around it gets struck by slightly weaker lightning. It's just a bunch of mortal
Indeed.
wounds. And he also gives you an extra 2 CP if he's your
Yes.
warlord.
Really good. Very, very good.
Very
And
good.
it's
Very good.
he's much more usable now since he's no longer in the Lord of War slot. He's back in the HU slot where he belongs.
Correct.
So, Nemesor Zandrak used to be amazing. So
Hmm.
sad.
Necron Don Quixote.
Yeah.
I mean, he
He's
literally
literally
has.
a crazy old man with dementia.
Consider that one of his buffs is literally named Solar Mills question mark charge. So he gives one of your units a random buff every turn. The buffs are good, but since they're random, it's kind of hard to leverage if you were trying to plan something for that. Probably the best
So
thing that you take him for is the fact that he has a once per game counter stratagem. So if your enemy is trying to do something really fancy with an expensive stratagem, for that activation you can just say no.
yes, you do Isildur.gif. Ah, I should have put Isildur.gif here. Anyway, so Vargard Oberon is Xandrak's bodyguard. He's a melee guy who can teleport to Xandrak's side, but he's not like a super melee monster like he was in Sixth Ed.
Yeah,
It's
no
very
cleaving
sad.
counter.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he does have cleaving counter blow, but it's not as good as his old cleaving counter blow. So the only thing that it does is if he dies, he still gets to attack.
Yeah. Which is pretty meh, considering he's not really that much of a melee monster, unlike the Scorpec Lord.
Correct.
So, Andrakir, here we go.
Speaking of melee
Take it away,
monsters,
Esteban.
Anrakir is also not a melee monster. However, he makes your army into melee monsters. His his warlord trait makes everybody better at melee, and he has an inherent aura which is completely dynasty agnostic. It buffs everybody, which is straight up +1 attack. That's
For
incredible.
all core units. This used to not be so good because all the melee units didn't have core. But now, gods, now, it's
Terrifying.
amazing.
Absolutely terrifying. Also for funsies, he can try to steal a gun from one of your enemy vehicles every turn. So
Yes.
if you get lucky, you can steal like the cannon off of a knight.
Yeah. Just as a heads up, this works particularly well. Anything that steals an opponent's weapon works particularly well if your opponent is named Kinil.
What did you steal?
It wasn't me, but like in one of the cash cups, literally every single game, everyone stole his Lehman Russ guns.
So he just got battle cannon by his own. Oh, that's so
Yes.
sad.
Yeah, he was so salty, I swear.
Oh, rip.
I'm not sure if he won Saltiest Player Award that year, but like I knew he was in the running.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to be exact, his warlord trait is set at Implacable Conqueror, which is 6-inch bubble of rerollable charges. Who needs
Ooh.
Chronometron? You just everybody just rerolls charges. Just go.
So you have this guy, then you have Scarpic Destroyers. Like
Maybe
honestly,
more than one unit.
he is the real Novok leader.
Right?
Yep. He is not actually a Novok character, but every Novok army should bring him now.
Correct.
So, Illuminar Zeras. I've never actually seen the new model on the field.
Correct. Although it was one of the biggest releases at the start of ninth edition, if I recall correctly,
No, it's at the
because
start of eight. It's the end of
end of
eighth
it,
edition. It was during Psychic Awakening.
yeah, everybody
Where
got
he was, yeah, where he was
super.
garbage.
He's ended up he looks super interesting, and then didn't really do much. However, with the core buff, he's basically a super technomancer. So if where a regular technomancer can bring back one slain model to only one unit per turn, he can bring back 1 and 2 units per turn. That's an
Mm-hmm.
incredible number of wounds back if you're bringing back destroyers. That's 6 wounds a turn, or maybe
Scorpic
even eight.
destroyers, and he also has 3 legs. No, he has 4 legs. No, so he's also on like he's also on like stilt legs. So he works very thematically well with Scorpic
Yes,
destroyers,
moves
and he's
exactly
as
the same
fast.
speed.
Yeah, as Scorpic destroyers. So very very good pairing with him.
Correct. Also, he can randomly buff one of your models every turn. That buff is permanent. So imagine giving your Scorpic Destroyers +1 strength, +1 toughness, or unfortunately +1 ballistic skill. 2 out of 3 ain't
Mm,
bad.
yeah. Esteban, a question: is he locked into a dynasty?
He is not.
Woohoo!
He can revive any dynasty and does not have a dynasty keyword.
Hello, Novok.
That is kind of a trend for some of these named characters like Anrakir, Zeras, and our next HQ, um, Orican the
Garbage can, the
Diviner,
diviner.
unfortunately. So he's sort of question mark, question mark, question mark, a super chronomancer in that his chronomancer buff can buff anybody regardless of dynasty. However, aside from that, doesn't really do much. He has a very strong weapon in melee, but he's only strength 4. That is until the stars are right, which is a RNG based buff that he gets for the rest of the game depending on what game round it is. So every time in your command phase, you roll a d6. If the number is under the current round count, he gets basically the stat line of a Catan, which has very interesting fluff connotations, but nothing's ever really been confirmed. Um, so yeah, he turns into a melee monster, except he's also still only 5 inches of movement. So yeah, he's very fluffy, very fun. His face looks like he's always waiting for you to laugh at his bad jokes, but getting work out of him is kind of hard.
Yeah, and just as a fluff note, he's an even shittier person than Trollzin. He's the type of guy who makes he likes saying that his predictions never go wrong, and if like they're about to go wrong, he will actively make them try to make them come true by sabotaging people.
Doesn't
Yeah,
it?
he's
Isn't
kind
it
of an
like
asshole.
he also goes back. He has like a secret thing that he uses to go back in time to make something like actually come true, but
Yeah,
he makes sure to never reveal it because otherwise his reputation would be garbage.
yeah. The only person who has ever denied that is our next entry, which is Trazin the Infinite, the Lord of Trolls himself. Um, he's the collector guy. He likes collecting random things and random people from the galaxy
Random
to put
armies.
into his gigantic space museum. If you see, he even has like a Tau thingy on his belt and like an Eldar thingy on his belt. Like he's absolutely hilarious. If there's one Necron short story that I recommend everyone to read, it's War in the Museum, which is basically Trazin having to deal with a Tyranid breakout inside his museum and having to awaken like Sisters of Battle and one of his captive tech priests who's there voluntarily, by the way, just to keep the invasion from happening. Unfortunately, in game terms, he is pretty bad. You just bring him for the memes. He has this thing where if he dies, he can take over one of your Necron lords or overlords,
Correct.
so that he hasn't died. Back in sixth edition,
Actually,
um,
actually, now it's
yeah,
any infantry character.
yeah, but back in sixth edition, you could even take Lich Guard. So
Hmm,
that was so much better because honestly, a lot of the other characters, even the ones cheaper than him, you're gonna get a lot of value more than Trazin. Yeah, he even
He,
lost
yeah.
his thing where if he kills something of one name, everyone else of that name in the squad is fucked.
To be fair, it got turned into a makes enemy characters explode if he kills them. However, that's
How
not
is he
likely
gonna
to
kill the
happen.
enemy character? He's not gonna kill any enemy
He's not gonna
characters.
kill any enemy character
Yeah, you
unless
buy
they're
him
like a
for the
guard
memes.
captain or something.
That is true, but like getting those in melee is a chore.
Yeah, he can ride a ghost arc, so you can make this incredibly funny, contrived series of events just to blow up a single infantry character.
Look, if you're doing that anyway, you might as well just put Orican in like the Ghost Arc.
You could just have a character bus and just hope that some of them get their special rules off.
Yo, you do not put Orican and Trazin in the same bus.
What if they're sitting at opposite ends? Is it good enough?
Sitting 5 feet away because they're not gay.
It's too bad
Not
it explains it excludes named characters Because it would be funny if Orkan dies and it turns into. I mean, if Trazin dies and then Orkan turns into Trazin.
That would be absolutely hilarious. Unfortunately, not though. I hope they do it next. Then, like let's pray to the GW gods. Let's pray to James Workshop. So
James Workshop.
we have come to the Necrons elite, otherwise known as the good shit.
The fun shit.
Yeah. So they are a lot of support units that can also provide utility, but this is where you get all your offensive support.
This is your
Gods.
Chapa and Yadaka,
Yes.
to borrow terms
This
from
is
the
the
orcs.
melee slot, which boy does not like. So, Esteban, tell us about the Leech Guard.
Look at them, they're so cool. They look like normal infantry, but they're toughness 5, wounds 2, attacks 3. They will chop things to pieces if they get into melee. They're another good candidate for teleportation from Veil of Darkness. So,
Very
they're
much
your
so.
dedicated bodyguard unit. It prevents your characters from getting sniped. So, they can have either very good defense or very good offense. Offense with the war scythes that are shown right there, or they can go sword and board with a dispersion shield and hyperfaith sword. Arguably, always take the shields because the swords for that are only one strength lower, but and still have good AP. And the shields give them 2+ armor save, 4+ invul. Very, very tough to shift, especially if you have 10 of them. So if you have like a blob of them in Novok with Anrakir nearby, they will destroy a lot of things.
They will kill.
Correct.
It will kill.
It will kill. Unfortunately, they are a little bit expensive if I recall correctly. With Sword and Board, they are 35 points a model. Also, being 2 wounds makes it a little bit hard to bring them back with reanimation protocols because you need 2 successes per body instead of 1. You cannot bring back half bodies, only full bodies.
Sorry, Lieutenant Dan. Yeah, they are quite slow, but honestly, people usually bring the shields nowadays for more survivability. And
Correct.
the swords aren't bad. Like the
Yeah.
swords aren't bad with the shields. It's just the sides are really good for DPS, but the swords aren't bad either. So like the additional survivability, um, really do make Blade Guard like take a run for their money.
Like if you
So
think
as
about it,
yeah,
yeah, like the war scythe is only 1 strength, 1 AP, and 1 damage better than the sword. Okay, there are some
mm-hmm.
cases where damage 2 is going to be very useful, looking at you Marines, but in a lot of cases, strength 6, AP 3, D1, 3 attacks base, pretty good.
Yeah, it'll make like orcs cry. So Patrick asks, are there still dynasties in the new codex? Yes, definitely there are still dynasties. We were talking about in particular how Novok is the melee dynasty, and the custom dynasty Eternal
Eternal.
Expansionist is the
Most
one to
broken stuff.
watch for everyone else.
Is it broken or is it just really good? It's broken.
It's really good, but compared to the rest of the options, it's broken.
Yeah,
It's
true.
broken in the sense that it's the only good option.
It's your auto pick if you had
Yeah,
to
it's
auto
your
pick.
auto pick. Like there shouldn't be auto picks in a codex, honestly.
Correct.
Uh, so Esteban, how about putting these guys in a croissant?
Doable. Doable. However, croissants are very fragile. If they can survive turn 1, you can get these guys a guaranteed charge. Absolutely. There's a strategy for that. You can put down enemies as long as you can put down next to enemies as long as you're not engaging them. That's a
Nice.
guaranteed charge. However, you can't use the first turn, and croissants are expensive and very fragile for their cost, but
So the
thematically very
death
cool.
marks.
Yes.
The death marks.
So yeah, they are your snipers. That's pretty much all we can say about them. But to go into more detail, they are some of your longest infantry range in the entire codex. Strength 5, AP2, D1. They got your normal sniper rule set, um, and they can also deep strike, which is good and bad in some cases. Bad because deep striking counts as moving, so they will take a penalty from the fact that their sniper rifles are heavy. Um, and the fact that they only deal one damage per shot makes it a little bit hard for a minimum squad to shoot through a character, unless you get really lucky with the mortal wounds. They
Yeah.
do have interesting strategies in etheric interception, which lets you intercept enemy deep strikers if they're also still in reserves. However, once they get there, they still don't really hit very hard.
Yeah, and it's heavy, so they're gonna miss.
Hey, they're still 2+ base. So moving it's a 3
Yeah.
up. It's fine. They're gonna hit. They're not gonna kill, but they're gonna hit.
It will not kill.
It will not kill.
Yeah,
Even if
they
you
get
bring 10 of
about as
them.
much uses. They get about as much usage in this edition as the Space Marine Sniper Scouts, which is never. Unfortunate for them.
Very much.
So when you're buying the Immortals and Deathmarks box, always build the Immortals. I'm sorry, Deathmarks.
Correct though.
Eh,
Okay,
they're
okay. If
also
you're if
they're
you're
also
if you
garbage in kill team, by the way.
if you Pokemon them, have one squad of 5 and that's it. Never build another squad.
That's what I did. It's just for
Or
Pokemoning.
if anything, use their head options. Because that single eye, kinda cool if you have an entire army of them.
That's true. The single eye is pretty cool. Yes, you will
They have
never be
been
enough.
they have
Like
been
Michelle Yeoh
consistently
says
under
no.
they have been consistently underperforming since the retconning.
Yep, they've never been good. So we're gonna give these guys the Michelle Yeoh stamp of disapproval. So the Played Ones! Yes, Esteban has been
They
looking
are
for these
finally
for
enough.
years.
They are finally enough. Oh, they were so bad before, but now they are basically a melee warrior. Same stat
Yeah.
line, except 3 attacks. They have automatic -1 AP on their melee, and they have exploding sixes on their melee, and a -2 leadership
Yes.
aura. And you can take them in blobs of 20.
Indeed.
Which is what makes them basically melee warriors, because warriors can also go up to 20, which is why 20 reapers are really scary. Anyway, they can also deep strike. There is a strat that allows you to get them +1 strength. For that 5 strength, they do a lot more things on threes. But also, one of the best things about this edition's Flayed Ones is they're in plastic. Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Let's not forget that they're also core now.
Oh, of course. So they get an incredible
Yes.
amount of buffs. You can give them Novok. You can give them rerolling charge. You can give them the +1 attack from Anrakir for 4 attacks on the charge from a blob of 20, rerolling charges and exploding sixes +1 strength.
Mm-hmm.
Satisfying.
That's absolutely disgusting. And as Esteban did mention, these guys were fine cast for the longest time.
And before that, metal.
Yes. And now they have these glorious new plastic models,
Uh,
which
I
are
will
honestly pretty amazing.
I will posit that the Finecast models were also very ugly.
Yes, they were actually very ugly.
Yeah. These plastic
Especially the one
ones,
with like
yeah,
like um, a spine and a head coming out of
on
like the
its
back.
back, yeah, no,
Yeah,
no, no,
ugly.
more metal, more metal. These guys are metal. Look at how metal they are. They
Yes.
definitely took design inspiration from the original metal flayed ones, rather than the fine cast ones for these. So they're cheap. They hit hard. You have to get into melee, but once they get into melee, they will shred a lot of things. Just
Yes.
not
If there's
tanks.
one disadvantage to flayed ones is that the models are pretty expensive for a cheap unit. So and you're gonna want to buy 4 boxes.
It's really only 5 a box.
Yeah, it's really only 5 a box.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Come on, they're basically warriors. GW, make them 10 a box, please. Anyway,
So the canoptic reanimator.
please do this one. Oh, I feel so bad for it.
This guy. I mean, he's cute.
Yeah. He's your little tiny War of the Worlds walker. He has a gun. He buffs your reanimation rolls, which, if you think about it, sounds really good. The buff is +1 to your roll, so that makes your 5 up become a 4 up. That's a lot better. It's a 1 in 2 instead of a 1 in 3. However, it's a targeted buff. You need to pick which unit is getting the buff before your enemy's turn, which means that your opponent can just not shoot that unit.
Indeed.
Additionally, it used to cost more than 100 points, and it was very fragile.
Yeah, it was
It is still
110,
is very
120.
fragile, but it's only 80 points now. The downside still is it's very tall, it's very hard to hide, and the buff is only 6-inch range. So, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
unfortunately, this unit also gets the Michelio stamp of disapproval.
Maybe if it got a 20-point cost reduction and then you bring two
Down
of
to
them,
60.
yeah, down to 60 and then bring two, maybe.
Yeah, could be, but at as it is now, Michelio's
No,
stamp of
no,
disapproval.
no, yeah,
Um,
no.
it is also Webster exclusive, so harder to get unless you got the Indomitus box.
Correct?
So, yeah, just give it a pass, guys.
Yeah, for now.
Now the Hexmark Destroyer.
Look at him, Spider Gunslinger. Looks so
Yeah, I
cool.
wanted to love him. I wanted to love him.
Same, same. I remember the promotional stuff they did when this guy came out. He was basically dueling the Gene Stealer cult gunslinger. It was so cool.
Yes,
And this guy's like 3 times the size. He's a huge. He's a
with like
giant based gunslinger,
twice the guns.
right? And the chance for twice the daka depending on how many kills he gets. Unfortunately, he don't do that much damage. He's actually a lot less shooty than you think because it's strength 6. Okay, it's rend -1. Oof. It is damage 1. Also kind of oof. So yeah, doesn't hit as hard as you think. He's basically a chaff clearer. That's it. He gets 6 shots, and if he kills anything, he gets another shot per kill, which he then put into something else. So I guess that's some kind of damage. But he's a bit expensive for what he does, and his biggest utility is the fact that since he is a character, he is a command protocol node for, and he has deep strike. So he's a deep strike and command protocol node.
But you know,
That's about it.
if you're doing two detachments, one is Novok and one is Eternal Expansionists, what even are command protocols?
Correct. You're like the fact that we forget about command protocols most of the time kind of shows how much of a benefit teleporting command protocol node is.
So,
Ah,
Scorpec Destroyers. Here we go. They are the premier melee unit. They now have core. So they pair with like all those buffs that used to just be available to warriors and immortals and such. They have it. They pair extremely well with the Scorpec Lord. Honestly, things will die when they are killed. You put this in combat, things will die. They have so many the synergies now. There's the Veil of Darkness, there's Anrakir, uh, God, it's just these guys are just gonna be so disgusting. To
Chronometron.
the yes, Chronometron, to the eternal jubilation of Tito Hesed, who hoarded 18.
Holy,
Yes, he has three full squads of Scorpec destroyers.
like, okay, their base weapon does 2 damage and gives them
Yeah.
an extra attack, and their upgrade weapon 3 damage, no to hit penalty.
So if we do get the cash cup by next year, depending on how the plague goes and how incompetent our government still is, you're gonna see 18 of these on the field care of Tito Hesed.
Terrifying. Terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying.
The
This,
Chronometron will give them a
yeah,
5+ invul. There's 3 wounds each. If Esed brings uh what is this called again? Shoot, the repair dudes. Crap.
Technomancer.
Yeah, the Technomancer. If he brings a Technomancer, even if you kill one, it's coming back next turn. That
Hmm.
is, if it fails its reanimation protocols, which
Heck,
is likely, but still.
if you bring Zeras, he's bringing two back.
And
Yeah,
he can keep up with them.
yeah, we're straight up list building for Tito Hesed right now.
Right. So yeah, like Novok, they get 4 attacks base, 5 if they're using the Threshers. They get rerollable charge. You can give them +1 strength to the strat if you had to, and you can even buff them with the next unit on the list.
Yes, Tito Hesed, that's your cash cup list for next year.
Yeah, just melee Necron surprise.
Yes, the Canoptech Plasma Site, the small
Yes,
boy.
it is technically a completely separate unit.
But it comes when you buy the Scorpic Destroyers.
Correct.
Okay,
Yep.
so it's a tiny small thing. It
Okay,
goes with
you
the
can do this one.
Scorpex. You use it to boost your murder rate at the cost of possibly killing a Scorpic Destroyer, which is a big
Mm-hmm.
ask. Yeah, it's now more worth it because you can Technomancer res that dead Scorpic, but it's still a bit risky, so your mileage may vary. It's not by any means an auto take, but if you believe like Master Jeff that history remembers the big plays, you definitely bring one.
Especially because the buff is not small. +1 strength, +1 attack. That's
Indeed,
a lot.
that plus one attack is.
So if you bring
And
Anchor Raptor, that's
then
plus
you add
two.
Anrak here. Yes. Yeah, it's absolute melee hell.
That's 5 attacks at strength 5, AP 3, D2. Goodbye, Marines.
Indeed. Now, Esteban, this is my favorite thing, the Spooder.
Okay, you can do this one then.
Okay.
Spooder.
The Spooder is a solid melee threat. Yeah, it also has some shooting upgrades, which I do take. They can return scarabs to the field. And it's the only non-silent king anti-psychic source. It's decently tough, and it's really good if you have a technomancer with a canoptic control node. Um, People will tell you not to do this, but I like bringing three. Yeah.
Cute. Look at how adorable they are.
Yes, and even more adorable are the old metal ones, of which I have two. So I have
Yes,
Mama Spider and Baby Spiders.
very much a different aesthetic. Much blockier. Very different.
Yes, you'll
I
see it
would
later in the photos.
I would like to preface most of our Canoptech discussion by saying that uh, most of their attacks are 4 pluses, which is why bringing a Technomancer with the Canoptech control
Canoptic
node is
control node.
so important because going from 4 up to 3 up is a very big improvement.
I remember why I take three and I take guns and a Canoptic control node. They do have one gun. Let me find that gun. Spooder, spooder, spooder,
Yes, the
spooder,
particle
spooder.
beamers.
Yeah, which allows me to spam like a bajillion shots.
Yeah, it's 6 shots each, strength 5, AP
Yes.
nothing, D1. But
Yeah.
considering that you're
By the
getting
way,
that
twin
on.
particle beamers are 12 shots each.
Oh,
So that's
sorry.
36
Part-
shots with my three spooders.
My bad. I just realized that the datasheet line only lists one beamer.
Yeah, so that's two. So that's 36 shots for my three spooders.
36 strength 5 shots? What is this, Tau?
Yes. Look at me, Manu. I am the Tao now.
So yeah, they're your only other source of any chance of denying psychic abilities. You have to buy an upgrade for them, and they have to be in range, but you're not getting it from anywhere else.
Yeah. Heads up that the Technomancer with the Phylacterian Hive can revive one of these.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, they have a
Eh,
stratagem that gives them +1d3 attacks.
yes, and they're only 60 points.
And 5 attacks each.
Right?
Right?
D2, 2 damage each, guys. Strength 8 AP minus 3. I love these guys.
They're great, they just have to get there.
Indeed, indeed. That's the big thing. They have to get there. But there are ways of getting them there. It's just like have like a unit of Scorpex across the board from them.
Right? It's like, that's a distraction Carnifex, except it's also not fake. And then there's an even bigger Carnifex behind them, just
Uh-huh.
floating off.
And even if they don't get there, they do have 36 shooting shots at strength 5.
Right? And it's assault.
They're, yes. They're great.
So you
They're so
so you can
great.
advance.
You can advance.
You can
This is
advance and
good.
still get the shots. Okay, so they're hitting on force. It's still 36 shots. It's fine.
So Esteban, do you love the spooders now?
I've always liked the spiders. I just
Do
like
you love them
like the
more
shooty
now?
dudes. But they've all, honestly, after seeing that they have 5 attacks, I'm like, oh, I might have to run a squad of these
Mm,
sometimes. Because
bring a
they
squad
do
of
come
three.
in units. You can bring
Yes.
them solo, squad of two, squad of three,
Yes, you bring a squad of three. This is
and
the
they
way.
have reanimation protocols.
Indeed, they do. Which will almost never happen, but
Yeah, because they have 6 wounds, so good luck rolling 6 5 ups. That's I've done it before, but don't rely on it. Just don't. Oh, also hilariously, they are command protocol nodes for whenever that comes up.
Oh yes, yes, they are. So I'm just checking something real quick.
What's up?
Okay. Unfortunately, they do not get core from the Great Core update.
No, they don't. They don't.
Sad
The
life.
spiders and the swarms did not get core. They are the two ones that did not get. The other
I'm so
canoptic
sad.
unit, the wraiths did, and so did the acanthrites from Forge World, but not the spiders.
Sad life.
Look, if you think about it, buffing these guys would be a little bit ridiculous if you think about it.
Okay, fine, fine. I'll accept it, but I can still be sad about it.
Or think about it, teleporting spiders is a little bit too much.
I accept it, but I will still be sad about it.
To be fair.
Okay. So, crypto trolls, you think they're garbage, but they're actually not. They are your premier action performers. They're like the servitors you bring in Space Marines, but better. They technically become decent melee attackers with a crypt tech, but honestly, they're there for actions. You bring them, they perform actions.
Hmm.
That's really it. They press button.
They come in only squads of two, so very small. They are not protected in any way, although they are toughness 5, so there's some defense against shooting. If they get shot at, though, they will probably die. However, they're going to be in the back of your field, pressing buttons for points.
hmm You just keep them hidden and performing your actions, and you'll get value out of them.
They even have a gun, if that ever matters, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So, Triarch Stalker, Esteban, tell us about this. I don't
Big
have one.
Fighty Spider, one of my favorite units. I love it to death. It's never been supremely good, but it's decent if you have a very shooty army. So it's a Spider Walker. What more did you want? I'm done. Kidding. So it gives your entire army reroll to hit of 1 against whatever it shot at first. So you want to shoot at something first with the gun that it has. It has a lot of options for guns, which is pretty nice. And then after that, the rest of your army can focus fire whatever you shot at down very well. Reroll ones is very good considering that you have infantry units that will be benefiting from My Will Be Done to get 2+ on their shots, so you will miss basically nothing. However,
Honestly,
the downside of this is that you can only buff against one unit at a time. It does not have splittable shots. It only has one gun profile, so you can't target two things and get buffs against them. No, 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 no.
yeah.
Also, its guns are usually on the heavy side, the high damage, high strength kind. So you're going to be using it on large targets, which is not necessarily what you want to be shooting with your smaller dudes, but it's fine. It's this situation. If you're running a shooty army, you might as well. It has pretty decent shooting for its guns. It
Yeah. One big disadvantage to this guy is he does not have Dynasty keyword.
correct because he is a triarch unit. Um, it does have, however, a 5 up invul and quantum shield from quantum shielding. So all of the units in the Necron Codex that have quantum shielding can only be wounded on 4 ups. Doesn't matter if you're strength 16, you're shooting at this thing, it's toughness 6, your to wound roll is still a coin flip. Helps a lot more than you think it does. The old
You know
version
what
of the
I
rule
would
was
have
a lot
wanted to
funnier. It
see?
was funny too.
You know what I would have wanted to see? I would have wanted to see that if you brought the Silent King, these guys would have gotten the Zarigan
Right?
keyword.
Right?
Yeah, that would have been thematic because he's the Silent King. He's the head of the
Although,
Triarch.
to be fair, his buffs. Okay. It doesn't buff the stalker. That's so weird. Lame. He can only
Hmm.
buff the foot soldiers.
He doesn't like the stalker because like
Doesn't like the
I
stalker.
only I can be the big thing.
I'm taking this personally. Excuse me. This guy works for you. Buff him, please. Come
He's
on.
like that one unwanted employee.
Uh, so driving the big spider tank is a demotion.
Yeah, like apparently before driving the Slanesh flesh mower things was a demotion.
That was a demotion?
Yeah, because they used to just go over fields of the dead, so they don't actually get pleasure out of it.
Oh,
So
that's so
demonettes
sad.
that were assigned there actually wither over time. But eventually, some demonettes hijacked it and brought it to a battlefield and started like blendering things that were still alive. And ever since then, it became like a reward to specifically well-performing demonettes. Though the two demonettes that stole the thing were like punished with like dissolution for stealing the thing.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, so it does have a little bit of strength in melee. However, it's not really a place you want to be
Yeah,
with
if
this
it's in
thing.
melee, that's kind of bad.
Mm. It's pretty good against big guns because of the coin flip to higher strength, but it's only toughness 6, so smaller guns will be quite likely to bring it down over time. Although 12 wounds, 3 up save, kind of a lot. It's also pretty fast, 10 inches.
Okay, so the transcended Catan, the first of our star gods. So it is the vanilla Catan. You bring
Pokemon,
it if you
Pokemon.
want yeah, it's your vanilla Pokemon. It's your starter Pokemon. You bring it if you want the second Catan once you already have one you either have another one or in particular if you already have Void Dragon or the Nightbringer.
Mm. The
So
Transcendent is significantly cheaper than the named Catan.
mhm.
For good reason.
It's yeah, you bring it as well, it is customizable, and you bring it to have Catan powers, but he's strictly a second Catan, not your primary Catan.
Yes.
Catan powers are like psychic powers, but they're undeniable. So just know that it's not the big thing. That's the obelisk, and it's actually the transcendent Catan.
Yes.
That's the guy.
Well, question for the audience: which one of these is the better unit?
Definitely not this.
Ah, that's so
So
sad.
sad.
We'll talk about that one later. So sad.
Hmm. So Shard of the Deceiver.
Ah,
Talk
yes.
about Mr. Deceivy Boy.
Uh, the the guy who messed everything up for the other Catan. So the best thing about him is his grand illusion rule. So this is one of the most fun rules in the game, in my opinion, because it lets you redeploy your army after deployment.
Yes,
So
it's
at
a
the start of your
downgrade of
first,
last edition though.
so after the start of your first battle round, you can select up to 3 friendly Necron units, and then you can put them anywhere on the battlefield, completely within your deployment zone. So if your enemy tried to turn one snipe anything, well, they're not shooting it anymore. Enjoy. This used to be good. It used to be way better in last edition because you could deploy right outside melee range, melee charge range using the 9-inch rules.
Yep. You bring a
However,
Lich Guard or a
it's a
unit
bit,
of war
it's a
sites
bit
right
insane.
there.
Yeah. He also has -1 to hit against him, which is pretty good. Um, does have 9 wounds, but is only strength 6. His attacks are D3, but yeah, he's okay in terms of fighting.
Yeah,
He's
he's actually
he
the least brought Catan.
yeah. Um, we should mention that all Catan have they explode when they die, and they have this ability called Necrodermis, which is one of the best abilities I've ever seen on a model. Because the thing is, they are characters, yes, but they cannot benefit from Lookout Sir, so your opponent can always shoot them. However, with the Necrodermis rule, they have a 4-up invo save, and They can't lose more than 3 wounds in any phase period. So if your enemy is
Yup.
only shooting at them, they will not die in 1 turn. In fact, they
Yes.
may not die in 2 turns. Additionally, they also have living metal, so they regen 1 wound a turn. So if your opponent does not find a way to deal multiple phases of damage to them, being shooting, psychic, and uh, melee combat, um, they will stick around for a while, cast random uncancelable mortal wound causing psychic powers, and generally be very annoying.
Yeah. The Necrodermis is kind of like an inferior version of Morathi who can only take 3 wounds a turn, which honestly is one of the biggest problems in AOS in terms of rules right now. So that's how good these things are. So even the Deceiver, who is the weakest of the Katan, is pretty good.
Like, if you think about it, if you are only shooting at the deceiver, it will take 4 turns to kill. That is the
Yep.
majority of the game.
Okay, now we get to Mr. Voidy, the Shard of the Void Dragon. He's a good middle ground between the Deceiver and the Murder Lord. So he particularly has bonuses against vehicles. He fucks
Mm-hmm.
vehicles in particular because his domain is machines. But he makes AdMech players very uncomfortable because he may actually be the machine god. Since the Dragon of Mars, which helped birth the Adeptus Mechanicus, may actually be a large shard of the Void Dragon. So yeah, make
Yeah.
AdMech players uncomfortable by bringing this guy, because if they're shooting it like, you're not gonna shoot the Omnisci, are you? Yeah.
Alright.
However, it is very big, so it cannot hide as well as either the Nightbringer or the Deceiver, or even the Transcendent Catan. So it's a very
Correct.
big model.
Correct.
Yes.
Still,
Here we go.
wait, for perspective, like, by good middle ground, like, considering that hitting at strength 9 is the middle ground, it kind of prefaces what we're going to look at next.
Whew, boy.
Yeah. One of
Are
my
you ready,
favorite
Esteban?
models, one of my favorite units.
Are you ready, Esteban?
Yes, yes, go.
Here we go.
Grim Reaper! The actual Grim Reaper!
Behold the abs of doom.
Right, right. Okay, so it's the Grim Reaper. What else do you want? It kills basically everything in the melee. It has a very strong, unique power of the Katan. Something you forgot to mention. Um, each named Katan has their own unique power. So his is Gaze of Death, which just you pick a unit, roll a bunch of dice, it will take a bunch of mortal wounds. Very strong. However, he's also the most expensive Katan, but he kinda is absolutely worth it even after the points
Yeah,
increase that he
they
got.
actually increased his points, but he's really just that good.
Because he will 1v1 anything and win. Even if you're a Demon Primarch, he will 1v1 you and win. Because his special rule with Entropic Blow is he hits at double strength, so strength 14, he's AP minus 4, damage d6, attacks 6 times. Every time he uses this weapon profile, you cannot make invulnerable saves, and inherently, he will ignore any kind of rule that will allow enemies to ignore damage. You get no feel, no pain, nothing like that, no disgusting, really resilient. You get no saves. The best you can hope for is if you have a 2 up, you get a 6 up armor save. That's it.
Yep. The only thing that can
Terrifying.
kill this guy in close combat is Uriel Ventris, and only in fluff.
Correct. Wait, no, he didn't even. He just drove it off that time.
That's true, that's true.
Yeah, so we can blame Mr. Uriel Ventress for letting a shard of the Nightbringer out, but also,
A
can we blame him?
transcendent shard of the Nightbringer, by the way.
Correct, correct. So, yeah, even if your Daemon Primarch or whatever manages to survive 1 turn, if this guy's still stuck in combat, he'll still come back and attack later because he still has Necrodermis. So you still can't one-phase him. If you want to kill him in 1 turn, you need to deal 3 in Psychic, 3 in Shooting, and 3 in Melee. Good luck if your army can do that. There are armies that
Yep.
can do that, but you're going to have to focus a lot of effort on killing this one
Yeah.
model.
In fact, the only Primarch that can do that reliably is the one who did nothing wrong.
Correct. Wait,
Yes,
he's shooting?
which is Magnus, by the way.
He's shooting?
I think he has shooting. He's
He's
Magnus. He
shooting?
should have shooting.
I thought his shooting was psychic
Well, his army
bullets.
has shooting.
Yeah, okay, fair, fair. So even Magnus can't solo the Nightbringer, but the Nightbringer will solo literally everything.
hmm he's just the god of murder. Honestly.
Correct. And you can't even target him much because he has an alternate weapon profile that allows him to attack twice. So 12
hmm
attacks.
Sweep, sweep.
Sweep, sweep.
He will just kill.
He
Honestly,
kills things.
it will kill.
It will kill. Oh, if you think about it though. No, no. Wait. Hmm. If you're lucky, he can be killed by a Void Dragon Shard. Because you can deal Powers of the Catan in movement phase. He's got his Throne Spear for shooting phase, and then he
Shooting,
can charge for melee. So the only other thing that can reasonably even try to solo the Shard of the Nightbringer at one turn is another Shard,
which makes sense.
right?
Catan Wars, Pokemon battles.
Someone play the battle sound like right now. I'm joking.
We cannot. We will get copyright struck.
I know, I know.
Yeah, I can
So
sing it.
yeah,
Dun,
we've
dun,
been
dun,
talking a
dun,
lot
dun,
about this
dun.
guy because he deserves the spotlight. It's incredibly expensive,
Yes,
but incredibly cool and incredibly killy.
this is this is the straight up most powerful model in the Necron Codex, and one of the most powerful models in the game. Straight up,
And he's a web
like
store exclusive.
that is not a hot take. He is straight up that good.
Correct.
Yes. So, Necron Fast Attack. Generally a source of fast melee with some splashed in jet bikes, and,
And
the
also,
adorableness that are scarabs.
yeah.
So,
So,
talk about the Tomb Blades, Mr.
Tomb Blades,
Esteban.
they are very, very decent. They're not amazing. However, think about it as they're about what you'd get if you took two immortals, combined their guns and stat lines, and gave them flying. So, they're jet bikes. They have a bunch of different gun options. You can add extra equipment on them, like shield vanes, to give them a better save or cover. They have inherently -1 to hit depth. They are incredibly fast at 14-inch movement. And yeah, they kind of suck at getting trapped in melee because they only have one attack.
Yeah,
They're basically very fast flying immortals, so play them as such. They're priced
yeah.
similarly, so yeah, they're decent. Not stand out, but decent.
Do
I
note
forgot.
they
Are
are
they core?
particularly good in Mephrit.
Did they get core?
I don't know. Like, they are so forgettable that I didn't bother to check.
Wait,
Let's
wait. I can
check
check.
right
I can
now.
check. I can check. That's a no. That's a no.
Yeah, no, they do not
Unfortunate.
have core.
They do not
Oh,
have core.
they do. Core. Tomb
What?
Blades, core.
Oh, they're inherently core.
Yeah,
Oh,
they were
that's
core
why.
in the beginning. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. My bad.
Okay, we're good. We're good. We're good. Okay, so next slide is the Ophidian Destroyers. They are core now, which makes them more usable than before.
Oh
They're a
God.
faster version of Scorpex, but they also die really fast. They have toughness 4, and
Four up
they're
armor.
very tall models for a armor save. Honestly, the only way to make them usable is to Veil of Darkness them into charge range in Novok, and hopefully have Anrakir nearby.
Yeah. To be fair though, since they're core now, you can chronometron them to give them a 5 up. That helps a
hmm
little bit. Also rerollable charges no matter where Anrakir is, but they're still really fragile.
Indeed. Also, the box does come with their own little plasma sight. So just as a heads up, like
Yes.
all destroyer melee boxes have a plasma sight.
Yes. So you are if comparing them to Scorpec destroyers, they're 2 inches of movement faster for one less toughness and one less save, which I guess
I would
is
Honestly, take the extra survivability since we have Veil of Darkness now.
Correct. The toughness increases part in particular is the most important one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man, we spent like what 15 minutes passing on the
Nightbringer.
Nightbringer.
Yeah,
He deserves it.
he deserves it.
Yeah. So Canoptic Race. Okay.
Ah,
The
yes.
Shrimpies, Esteban's favorite.
Ah, yes, my favorite shrimp. Trivia: the previous Ophidian destroyers are an homage to the original Necron wraiths, which were basically Necron warriors with slightly bigger shoulder pads and claw hands and spider tails. Now they were replaced in a new line by Canoptek wraiths, who are no longer like Necron chassis, like humanoid chassis things, and
Yes.
now we
Now they
have
are
these
shrimp.
blade shrimp. So they are incredibly fast, a 12-inch movement. They are decently tough, toughness 5, wounds 3, 3 up armor save, and inherent 4 up invul save. Also, they are incredibly slippery. Um, they can ignore terrain when moving, and if they fall back from melee, they can still move, charge, and shoot. So they are extremely good skirmishers that are also decently tough and hit decently hard. Their base melee hits at strength 6 and deals 2 damage.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm, mhm.
So, oh, don't forget that they do benefit from the Canoptic control node of
Correct.
the Technomancer.
Yeah, the
So
only
having a
downside,
Technomancer them is really good.
correct. The only downside for them currently is that their base to hit stats are 4 ups.
Mm-hmm.
However, they are now core.
Indeed, they are now core.
So if you have a control node nearby, and you might will be done them, they hit on twos.
And you have Anrakir for the extra attacks.
Here we go again with the list building.
Yes. But that's your list. It's not Hesed's 18 score pick list.
Okay, I have two lists. The fast melee Necrons and then Silvertide. I, Personally, I prefer Silvertide, but Wraiths are also really fun.
Yeah, I remember you being an absolute dick with these guys in Zone Mortalis when they used to ignore terrain and they just like zoom the walls
Yeah,
and everyone hated you.
I mean, it's very fluffy. That's literally what they're supposed to do. They phase through walls because they're supposed to reach into Necron machinery to repair it. And is it my fault if you invaded my tomb, where I have home field advantage with wall phasing shrimp that with blade arms? Is it my fault?
Mm,
Is it my fault? It's not my fault.
still your
Also,
fault.
they have guns. Never buy them. You don't need the points on them. They're there to run up, stab things, retreat, charge a different thing, just make as much chaos as possible.
Yeah, the purpose of the guns on this kit is so that you can take them and put them on the metal spiders.
Correct. Or on some characters that need the bits for their gun
That's true.
options.
That's very true. So, Triarch Praetorians. Esteban,
The
you
guys
love
I'm
these guys as well.
absolutely biased with. I love these guys. Look at them, they're so cool. I love them because like the one part of their lore is they observe races that have been uh, that started existing or living on dormant tomb worlds to see if they would have any of the markings of a noble race. So, if the Necrons ever fought that race in combat, they would observe, and if they are a noble race, the Necrons attacking must observe proper Necron codes against them. They almost never find anybody noble. So there goes that. But still, they have cool jetpacks. Oh, well, they're not jetpacks. They have anti-gravity packs that just let them stand menacingly in midair. Now, in game, this lets them basically act as jump troops.
I
So
see.
they have the same profile as Lich Guard, except without the option of taking shields. However, they do have a gun, which is that rod that they have right there, which is AP -3, so it's always been good at killing heavily armored units. Their melee also is damage 2, so they're very good at hunting down Space Marines.
Yeah,
Um,
the shooting is also damage too.
Correct. The hardest thing when using these guys is they have no invulnerable saves. So if anything with a plasma or plasma-like damage profile looks at them, they will evaporate.
This is why you bring Chronomancer to give them a 5++.
Um, Especially because they now have core. They didn't have core before, so you couldn't do that. But now
Yes,
they
now they
can.
have core.
And now you can give them a 5++ and just hope that they make those 5 ups. Gosh. But they're very good for what they do. They're well priced, hit hard for anti marine stat line stuff, very fast. Love them. They look so
Yeah.
cool.
And they do get a buff from Mr. Zarek.
Oh, incredible buffs. We will get to that later though. Ah,
The Scarab
they're
Swarms!
so
Yeah.
cute.
Now, note
Um,
that while they are Webster exclusive, they do come in boxes of Necron Warriors, so you will have a lot of these.
Correct. What is it? 3 per box, I think.
3 per box.
Yes. So you're never gonna have. You're never gonna run out of scarab swarms, even if you're building completely different stuff.
Only
And
if you have
they're.
36 Scarab bases.
Oh my god. Um, that's a lot. Like that's like triple mine, I think, quadruple mine. But yeah, you end up getting a lot of these adorable little things over time, and they might not look very threatening. That's because they aren't. They they're strength 3. They have no AP. They only deal 1 damage. However, if they wound an unmodified hit roll of 6 always wounds, so that's minus some RNG on them. However, their job is not to attack in melee. Their job is to run around, be incredibly fast because they do move 10 inches, and be tarpits or objective holders because in Eternal Expansion they have Obsec.
Oh,
And they
yes.
have 4 wounds a base. Not what you would have
Esteban,
expected. Yes?
can you check something for me real quick? Do they
Yes.
have the swarm keyword?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so having the swarm keyword as like the Nurglings, these things have an additional benefit of being able to block Imperial Knights who can only step over infantry or bikers. They cannot step over swarms. So while they can step over like a gigantic Space Marine squad, like a single fucking Scarab base will body block them.
Right? And you can take them in
Yes.
units of up to 9. That is 36
Yeah.
wounds in a single squad that moves 10 inches a turn and can regen a base if you have a Canoptech Spider.
Yes, I can bring 4 full squads of these guys with my spiders.
And you just flood the entire battlefield with things that just get
Yes,
absolutely in the way.
indeed. It's gonna be like absolutely annoying for everyone involved,
And they're
including me.
so cheap. They're just so annoying.
Full
Oh my
canoptic
god.
list. Full canoptic list, Esteban. I
Robo
also have
Vermin.
12 shrimp.
Oh, that's wonderful.
No, I have 9 shrimp. I have 9 shrimp. So I bring 9 shrimp, 36 scarabs, 3 spiders, and technomancers.
It's worth
That's
it.
it. That's
It's
the
worth it.
list.
Do it. Do it. Hey, wait. No, 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 no. You can bring a unit that we will discuss later, and it will still be a canoptic list. So you can
Ooh.
have some kind of shooty.
So, the Necron heavy support. This is where you take your biggest guns, usually to take out tough single targets like Manus Riptides in particular. Yeah, and like except Locust Destroyers. So, Locust Destroyers are really good against small things. So, Locust Destroyers, they were my signature unit back in previous editions,
Right?
um, where they were the gods of the battlefield. That's why I have 18 of them.
There used to be
So,
jump jet units.
yeah, they were very disappointing at the start of the edition, but now they might get better again due to the core keyword. So we'll have to wait and see. I can't really like play as much nowadays, and like can really only invite Vian to my house. And if I ask Vian to play against 18 destroyers, he will just flip me off and not talk to me for a week probably. So
Because VN plays Marines, and Marines will get killed by these things.
yeah, so that's not gonna happen. So the thing is, you bring 4 or 5 of these, and you can take the next thing in our list, which is the Locust Heavy Destroyer inside the squad, and then you have a Technomancer, and you let the heavy die first, and then you res the heavy every turn just to frustrate your opponent because they go through 4 wounds of chunk, and then it just comes back. It's like the frustration that all Raven Wing players inflict upon everyone with their resurrecting attack bikes, which all Marines can bring, but like they don't have built-in invul saves like the Raven Wing. And being core, they can also be given the 5++ from the Chronometron. Though this is not the place where you want to put your extra attacks because they are a shooty unit.
Mm-hmm.
However, they do still get benefits from My Will Be Done for being
Correct.
core, and they have a built-in reroll due to being destroyers.
Yes.
Yes, very good shit.
Yes.
So the Locust Heavy Destroyers are chonky things. Once again, you don't bring it alone; you bring it in the Locust squad. Um, in which case your opponent kills it, and then it comes back like the Undertaker while they're celebrating its death, like Manu did in last edition. Um, then you can I actually want to get one of these and convert it into a really cool Locust Lord for extra Pogi points. Because honestly, they should have just used this model to make a new Locust Lord.
Correct.
Because the old Locust Lord is just a Locust Destroyer with a War Scythe arm that's web store exclusive. Which is why, right? So take this guy, convert it, and like show it to me. So War of the Worlds Walker version 2 Electric Boogaloo. Take it
Yes, the
away.
bigger one, significantly taller, has an actual giant cannon. So it has a decent heavy firepower. It's one of the biggest primary anti-tank units in the entire codex because it has a Doomsday cannon. No, Doomsday Blaster in this case. So the interesting thing about the Doomsday Blaster is that it has two weapon profiles depending on whether or not it has moved this turn. If it hasn't moved, it can basically go charge. I'm charging up my laser, and it fires heavy D6, strength 5, AP minus 5, goodbye armor saves, D6 damage, which is a lot of damage. It's only tough to 6, has 12 wounds though, and it does have a 4 up inherently, 3 up armor save. So decent saves, but relatively squishy on the toughness side. It's also only ballistic skill 4 plus. So you want a canoptic control node nearby to buff it to 3 plus
Yes.
ballistic skill.
So you're
It
saying I
also,
should get 3 of these to go with my 36 scarabs, my 9 shrimp, and my 3 spiders.
yeah, why not?
They're expensive.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Um,
And like I'm having to spend money on Titans because Matthew decided to get me in a new game
ah,
back when I was
um,
cancelled.
so the problem with Necron big guns in general is that they're very unreliable. Your biggest gun is heavy D6, so you can roll a 1 or you can roll a 6. Very swingy. The damage is also D6. You can roll a 1 or you can roll a 6. It's not very consistent. There's some other guns in this codex, such as the heavy gun from the Locust Heavy Destroyer, which is only one shot. However, the damage is 3d3. That's very consistent compared to d6. Also, they're kind of cute in that they have this stratagem that you can enact if your enemy kills a Tectomancer near them. They basically, I think it's Revenge of the Doomstalker. It gets maximum stats, like maximum shooting stats for the rest of the game against the thing that killed your Tectomancer, and it can immediately shoot back against the thing that killed it. I think so. It's very funny when that happens. They are very similar to the other heavy gun holder in this codex, which is the
No, no,
not that one. We're not there
that's
yet.
too
Which
that's
is going to
too
come up later. Um,
yes.
Here we have the Annihilation Barge, which was very good before, but has never quite gotten as good as it used to be. Mostly because, despite it being relatively cheap and relatively fast and relatively tough for what it does, its guns are very strange. You do get 10 shots at strength 7, but
That
no
explode.
AP and only 1 point of damage. Yes, every time you roll a 6, you get 2 extra hits, but no AP and only 1 damage kind of relegates this to just horde mulching.
Hmm. Which isn't like the most efficient use of your time.
Correct. Um, you can get maybe 1 point of AP if you're running them in Mefrit, but that's a terrible stat line. Anyway, yeah. Used to be amazing. You just glanced vehicles to death because they just spammed strength 7 shots back when armor value was a thing. But yeah, they haven't really ever been as good as they used to be because of this weird Tesla destructor profile.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So, you want to do that whole preamble again from the Doomstalker,
No, no, just go to the
right?
Doomsday arc.
Here we go, the Doomsday Arc,
So it's basically the same gun as the Doomstalker, except with a 1 foot more of range.
and it's a bigger
Um,
penis than the other one.
I think they might be the same size.
Of penis? This thing's
Uh,
huge, huh?
yeah, okay, fair. Also a pain in the ass to
Yeah,
assemble.
it's definitely huger. This
Okay,
one's
okay,
like
and
short with like balls, and this one's just long stock.
okay, fair. Um, its differences with the Doomstalker are that it has quantum shielding, so 1 less invulnerable save, but it gets the benefit of the 2 wound thing. Um, Also, the guns on the side that you can see there are equivalent to the firepower of an entire minimum squad of Necron warriors. So it is actually
Okay.
good at shooting if something gets close to it. However, yeah, same problem as the Doomstalker, very swingy gun. And if it
Yeah.
moves, it's way weaker.
And honestly, it's very unlikely anything that's close to it with like 36 scarabs on the field.
Correct.
Yes. Because you will
Very,
eventually have 36 scarabs. It happens.
very fun to drive though.
Hmm.
Oh, do note though, you can't add bases. You can just bring back destroyed ones.
Hmm.
Next we have
The
our,
dedicated transport slot, aka the Ghost
which is
Arc.
the Ghost Arc slot. It is the only dedicated transport we have. It
Hmm.
is a Doomsday Arc turned upside down, and it can transport 10 models, usually just warriors, but possibly also characters. It also has the firepower. You might as well go to the next page so we can look at it.
Yes. Esteban, I'll
Uh,
just go to the bathroom. Like,
okay, sure.
continue.
Okay. So it's your standard transfer for warriors, especially Reaper warriors. Important because it can move 12 inches compared to the warriors 5 inches. Important thing about that being the fact that Reapers are only 12 inches in range. So when you want to get your close range shooty guys up really fast, you pretty much always buy them Ghost Arcs. You can only fit a minimum squad in a Ghost Arc, but the Ghost Arc itself is dedicated to supporting your warriors. Not only does it have the firepower of another squad of warriors, it has a rule specific to it that lets it repair squads of warriors inside it or next to it for D3 destroyed models. Um, well, more of it lets them do their reanimation again after your initial reanimation rolls. So you can bring them back before you do your shooting, so you can maybe get a couple more models of firepower back in before you do your shooting. Uh, they are kind of low in toughness, only toughness 6, just like the Doomsday Arc, but 14 wounds, 3 plus armor save, and quantum shielding means that they are tougher than people think. They also regen 1 wound a turn if you don't kill them outright. Uh, yes.
Yes. I'd also like to note that this thing is way faster to paint than it is to build.
Yeah. God.
Yeah, because you have to assemble each of those like little rib cage bones.
Uh huh. Very
Mm-hmm.
easy to assemble them wrong too. And if that happens,
Mm-hmm.
the spine of the ghost arc will be slightly twisted. You gave it scoliosis. Good job.
Indeed, do not give it scoliosis.
Do not give it
So this is
scoliosis.
one of those models where you actually do want to read the instructions first.
Yes.
So remember the first rule of engineering, RTFM. Read the fucking manual. So next we have the Necron quasants. There are
Yes.
just two quasants, the Night Scythe and the Doom Scythe, and both are relatively fragile for their cost. So let's start talking about them. First of all, we have the Night Scythe. Actual picturing.
Actual
No, no.
picture.
So, all right, we have the Night Scythe, which is your transport flyer. Esteban, go.
No, go back to the previous one. Go back to the previous one. It's the
Fine,
fun one.
fine.
Do it, do
Okay,
it, do it,
fine.
do it.
Here we go.
Okay. Okay, so they're a transport flyer. They're kind of squishy, same, roughly the same profile as your Ghost Arc.
They're not
Um,
squishy, they're flaky.
valid joke, but I hate you, but valid. Oh, God. Oh. Anyway.
So, welcome to Eric who couldn't join us for FB due to his internet connection fritzing.
Okay. Hello. So the upshot of these dooms of the Night Scythe is that it has transport capacity. It can hold up to 20 Dynasty Core infantry character, or Dynastic Agent infantry. So they can hold an entire full squad of Necron warriors with Ghost Reapers. Unfortunate thing being that they are very squishy. They are flying, so your opponent will see them very easily and is more than likely to shoot it down before it gets to their side of the table. Um, it only has a 3 up save. I mean, yeah, just 3 up save, no invul. It's only toughness 6, so your opponent can throw moderately good strength stuff at it, and it might go
And
down
it will
before it.
die. Yeah.
Yeah, there are.
Unfortunately, like, I wish it had quantum shielding.
Yeah, or I wish it had. I really wish it had the rule that they gave to Valkyries from Imperial Guard, the deploy after moving.
Yeah, yeah, that would have been cool.
Because okay, the original name of the Night Scythe transport rule is invasion beams. Come on, let us just beam in our dudes after we move. It's
Yeah,
not
and
like
then
they're
let the
jumping
Night
out of the
Scythe die
Night Scythe.
afterward.
Yeah, like okay, if it does die, there. Okay, this is ninth ed. It's not as bad now, but previous edition, you had to set your models, your units, off board in reserves specifically for the Night Scythe, and if the Night Scythe died before those units got beamed in from reserves, the unit that you put in reserves has literally no way to get onto the board aside from you spending CP on a stratagem. So now in ninth edition, it's at least a transport. So your units will fall out of it when it gets destroyed.
Right. So let's just talk about the other things that the Night Scythe can contain aside from warriors. You can also put in Lich Guard, preferably with the war sides. You can put in Praetorians, though I'd prefer them zooming up the board so they can still shoot.
Correct.
You can put flayed ones in there, I guess, but they already have built-in deep strike. But at least this way they're protected. And you can also put ham. You can put cheese. Some people put sausage. The Japanese like
Hazelnut.
to put curry inside their
Hazelnut spread.
croissants. Yeah. So yeah, you can put a lot of things in your croissant.
hmm Forgot to mention though that they do have a stratagem called Prismatic Dimension Breach, which will allow you to teleport a unit within 3 inches of the to right next to the Night Scythe, ignoring normal deep strike rules. So you
Yeah,
can put enemies within 9 inch. You can put a unit within 9 inches of an enemy squad to basically guarantee a charge.
indeed.
However, you can't use a round one, and this thing's squishy, so good luck.
If it lives, it lives. If you have another distraction Carnifex here, like if you have I honestly would bring two night sights since do you assign which is inside the night sight or are they just
Unfortunately,
there?
yes, because they're transports now.
Oh,
But
no,
but
that sucks.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah, you have to assign it because they're transports. But for the prismatic dimension breach, I think you don't have to. You just gate a unit forward.
Okay.
Let me go check the wording on that. If
Yeah,
you want
if
to
you
talk
could
about the
please.
Doom Scythe while I'm doing this.
All right, so the Doom Scythe. So the Doom Scythe is the Quasant version with a big gun. So it's an extremely mobile anti-tank death ray. You used to go after things hiding behind line of sight blockers like cowardly characters or servitors or crypto thralls doing actions. They're very fragile, just like the Night Sight, even though they are particularly. However, the fragility is what brings them down. So they're not really worth bringing. If anything, I think the Night Scythe is a bit more worth it. Esteban might disagree.
No,
Um,
I consider the Doom Scythe more worth it.
really? So
Yes. Oh, I am wrong. The Prismatic Dimension Breach has to bring units in from reserves. So yeah, it's not ghosting them forward if they're already on the battlefield. So you
okay, so but they don't have to be inside the transport.
they do not.
So I would bring two Night Scythes, let one of them get shot down, and breach the second turn with a unit of war size from reserve.
Puede. Alternatively, you could keep a blob of 20 flayed ones in reserves, and if the Night Scythe
Hmm,
goes down, they can deep strike it normally.
that is true. That is very true.
However, is that really worth paying a lot of points for a guaranteed charge? Up to you.
It's funny. It will totally shaft AdMech players.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and AdMech are still top of the poll even after their nerf.
All
So
right.
that's something we really have to consider.
True.
Note that your list building will vary depending on who in particular you want to shaft. So that particular strat may not be the best idea against something like Marines or Orcs, but it will absolutely ruin an AdMech player's day, which may be absolutely worth it. Fuck you, boy.
As someone who plays both Necrons and AdMech, I take no sides.
Yep, you're a worshipper of the Void Dragon either way.
Uh huh. To be fair, that is the flavor behind my AdMech after all.
So Esteban, why haven't you ordered the Void Dragon yet?
It's expensive.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, I like the Nightbringer model better. I'm sorry.
You already have the Nightbringer though, so
I
just
know,
get the
right?
Void Dragon now.
Uh, yeah. I,
Unless you want to join us in Matthew's game, Adeptus Titanicus.
uh, I think Vian's trying to get me to play.
Yeah. Or into 30k with your Alfarius.
True. Although I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind him just eternally being a display piece because I am Alfarius.
Yeah, but the problem is if you only have Alfarius, it's obvious which one is Alfarius.
But what if it's Omegon in his armor?
That's true. So one of them could be dead, but it's the same thing. Everyone knows twins are the same person.
Mhm.
We learned this from Mrs. Weasley.
Okay, Lords of War. There are
Yes.
a bunch of them. There's actually more Lords of War than dedicated transports or flyers.
Mm-hmm.
And there is an addition to the Lords of War that used to not be Lords of War, which is in
The
this case
monolith.
very unfortunate.
Yeah. So just a heads up, the range of usability in the slot ranges from absolute garbage to like Zarek the Silent King. So yeah. So Esteban,
Yeah.
Eric says that AdMech did nothing wrong.
Of course not.
What
They're
do you think
worshippers of
about
the
this?
Void Dragon. Of course they didn't do anything wrong.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, so we can thank the Void Dragon for all of the technological progress, quote quote progress, that the Advec has made. You're welcome.
Yes, the Void Dragon is responsible for iPhones.
I mean, no matter what side I am on, I can't lose. I'm on Admech and Necrons.
Praise the machine, Siri.
Praise the machines, whatever they are.
Okay, so the monolith. It would be absolutely great. It got a huge glow up if it were still in heavy
Gorgeous.
support.
Goodness, it's
If
one
it
of
was
the
still in
best
heavy
looking
support.
models I've seen.
but it's kind of not worth it as a Lord of War. There have been jank lists with 3 that have done well, but they are very, 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 very far outliers. According to Esteban, they're weirdly good in melee. Tell us about it, Esteban.
Okay. They you see the gate in front of the monolith. Oh my god! The funniest thing about that is that's a melee weapon. Not only do Necrons come out of it, it also vacuums up opponents in melee. The Portal of Exile uh, is an AP -3 weapon, damage 3, strength 8, and it never misses. You just vacuum up an enemy, hit them 6 times with your Portal of Exile, and you just suck them into a tomb world or maybe into a sun. I don't know where the portal goes when it does that. Um, the hilarious thing is, it used to be even funnier because it used to not even be an attack. You just picked an enemy in front of you, and there's a chance it would just get booped into the mouth of the monolith.
Yeah. Apparently, normally things that go through a Necron monolith are either completely or partially disintegrated, like are lost. And there's only one noted incidence of a human going through and surviving mostly intact, minus like 2 fingers, and
Eh,
that is Caiaphas Cain.
huh? Which
Yeah, he
book?
actually. I can't remember the one with the Necron Tomb World. He actually went through it, and then
I
he
read that
ended
book,
up
but I
on a
don't remember
Necron
that.
he ended up on a Necron tomb ship that was at that moment being invaded by Space Marines. So they managed to rescue him, and they were like, "Holy shit! This guy had the balls to go through like a Necron portal and take the fight to the enemy."
He's honestly
So
one
he,
of the most funny characters in the entire
yes.
setting.
If you don't know who Caiaphas Cain is, I advise you to read the books. Honestly, they are amazing.
True hero of the Imperium.
The true hero of the Imperium. So he has the
Oh,
respect of Space Marines, like the Sisters of Battle, everyone, even the Tau respect him.
accidentally. In all
Yeah.
cases, accidentally,
And his girlfriend is an Inquisitor, so yeah.
right? Would like to mention though that this Lord of War can deep strike.
It's dumb, but it can.
It floats down from space because that is what the Necrons do when they
Spurs,
are invading a planet. These things float down from space.
spares.
Oh, but also the more mundane thing that they do with the Eternity Gate is
Bring
they
in
can
warriors.
summon reinforcements from the Eternity Gate instead of things having to deep strike in. So that can help you get around the 9-inch deep strike rule.
Yeah, so they come in, and then Lich Guard come out,
Correct.
or Flayed ones come out. Up to you,
Correct.
depending on what you want to shaft.
Correct. For a Lord of War, it's not particularly tough at toughness 8, 24 wounds, 2 plus save, and no invul.
Honestly, it should be a heavy support choice.
It really should be. It should be. It should still be expensive, but it should be heavy
Yeah,
support because now you don't see
yeah.
them on the field
Honestly,
anymore,
everything about it is okay except its slot.
right?
I'm okay with the points. I'm okay with the model. I'm okay with the upgrades. I'm okay with what it does, but it's in the wrong slot.
I just want to use my big obelisk of death. Okay,
Yeah.
not the shitty obelisk.
Speaking of
This is the true obelisk. The next one is fake. Speaking
Obelisk
of,
the Tormentor,
just don't,
rather Obelisk the Tormented, it's
just
constantly
don't,
been voted on
just
multiple
don't.
forums as the worst unit in the game ever since its release.
It's
It's been ranked lower than Pyrovores back when they were bad. It's honestly the worst thing in 40k period
it's never
ever
been
since.
good.
It's
Ever,
never been good.
never.
Never ever ever. It's so bad. Honestly, it's so horrible. It's so bad. We're not even gonna talk about it. It's just bad.
Next,
Honestly, guys.
just go. We
Yeah,
don't want to look
we're
at
going
this
away.
anymore.
Like fuck you. So this is the good version of the obelisk, the Tesseract Bolt. So when a katan is of a particular strength, they like to trap it in these gigantic pokeballs called Tesseract Bolts, meaning that it's a katan, a vanilla transcendent katan, but even better. So it gets like bonuses to its Catan powers. It's big. It's tough. It's
It has 30 wounds.
it has 30 wounds. It even has shooting. I
It even has an
particularly love the
invul.
design where it has these wraiths built in that regulate the Catan containment field.
Correct.
Um, and it is the biggest 40k unit that I own. It's absolutely huge. I did not expect it to be so huge when I bought it. Um, Esteban, are you still there?
Yeah, yeah. I just
Okay, okay.
need to.
Yeah. Oh, I see you. Hello, Esteban. Haha. So its hugeness is a liability because it's so big that sometimes it does not fit in your deployment zone.
I hit the wrong button.
Yes, we accidentally saw you.
No. Anyway, yeah.
I mean, you look
It's huge.
exactly like your icon, so it's fine.
Frustratingly, yes, but yeah. Okay, go. Okay.
Do we
You know
start
what? I
calling you
want you.
McLovin now?
No. I want you to talk about the deployment caveat.
Okay, so in previous editions, it was so big that it couldn't fit on like the deployment zone. So some TOs ruled it as you place it so that the back end of the model is touching your board edge, and then even if it goes above your deployment zone, you can't move during the first turn,
Oh, I
which is
think I know why you're not supposed to move during the first turn because the original rule for stuff that couldn't fit is you place it at the edge of
they
the
have
board and then
yeah
walk
they
it
have to
on,
come
right?
in, yeah, yeah.
But the problem is it moves slower than its width.
It's just that big. And honestly, the range on its powers means that the not moving on the first turn is not as big as a liability.
Correct.
Depending on what powers you bring. It's honestly not big a liability. It's gonna do good shit no matter what.
Correct.
Like I
It
have
just
brought it once and I have been made to promise not to bring it again except on request. It's that
they
bad.
they nerfed the points because there was a list before of three of these.
Yeah.
And
It's
here's the thing, you just throw them forward because they're Titanic and they explode when they die. You want them to explode on your opponents.
indeed. You know how I found out about that thing about the deployment zone? Because when we started deploying it, it did not fit my deployment zone. So we had to Google what the hell to do.
I mean, it's hard to place and it's also hard to transport. I mean, good luck carrying that around to your
I
tournament.
basically just had to carry it like a freaking candelabra, like across UP Town Center, and everyone's just staring at me as I pass. Because that's a standard size flyer base. I'll have a picture later with the Grey Knight as a size comparison, just to show you how big this thing is. So,
Later.
and the greatest thing in this slot is Zarek, the Silent King,
Okay, you can
one
go
of
off on this one. You
the
have
oldest
one.
characters in 40k. Is he the oldest character in 40k, not counting the Chaos Gods?
Wait. The Chaos Gods predate the War in Heaven.
Not all of them, because I like
No, yeah, I know
the
Slanesh was
because
later.
Chaos was Chaos was, well, the Imperium back sorry, the Imperian back then was pretty calm and chill and flaccid
They
before the
still
War in
existed.
Heaven happened. Yeah, so
Okay.
maybe not existed as sentient beings.
Okay, so probably the
So
no. He
probably
would be
corn
like
fetus.
no. He if anything, Zarek would be relatively tied with Zeras because Zeras was the architect of
That's true. That
of
is very true.
biotransference.
So yeah, so they like the Necron characters are some of the oldest characters. Though probably Zandrek is older than any of them.
You know what? You're wrong. You're not wrong. Sorry, correct. You're right because how else would he become that so demented that it would carry over into his?
Mm.
Wait, was it caused by errors in his reanimation? I
It was
forgot.
caused by errors in his reanimation, but a lot of the fluff also stated where he was talking about the old wars between Necron tier.
Oh yeah, part of his dementia is that he sees every combatant as a Necron, so he thinks every battle is a battle between Necron tier houses.
So he's forcing everyone to obey
Fight
the rules of
honorably.
war. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So he takes like noble captives from his opponents, and then once he's not looking, Vargard Oberon just executes them. And
Yes.
then he says like, "Oh, they tried to escape, so I had to wink, wink."
Nanlaban.
No, 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 no,
And
no.
hey, Oberon is bald. He's Bato.
Oh God, I hate this now.
He's Bato.
I hate this now.
He's serving a senile overlord.
Oh God, you ruined Xandrek for me.
Yes!
No,
It's Dutes and Bato.
I hate that this is accurate.
Now you know. Now
Shit.
you will hate them.
Crap. Okay,
Lords.
anyway.
Okay, so just tell us about the Silent King, Mr. Esteban.
No, you do it. You have one.
Okay, fine. So he does everything. He fights harder than three overlords because there are three overlords there.
Yes,
He
yes.
buffs
Okay, okay,
harder than
okay.
three overlords
Okay,
because
okay,
he does
fine. I
have
want
three overlords there.
fine. I want to talk about the fluff because the
Go.
Necrons are led by the Triarch. So that's three overlords, except that the Zarek is the head of the Triarch. The other two members of the Triarch are right there next to him. The Faerun of the Stars and the Faerun of the Blades, which coincidentally are also the names of the buffs he gives to things near him. So the buffs that he gives are uh, reroll all Necron Core or Triarch Praetorian range to hit rolls, all melee wound rolls. Um, he still gives them Relentless March. He forces enemies in melee with him to fight last no matter what. He can choose whatever command protocol you have at the moment. Um, and he gives you an extra 3 command points. He's got a 4+ invulnerable save, and well, he is surprisingly fighty for a guy on a floating throne. Because all three of the Pharaons will fight. Also, the two things that are floating next to him are giant guns.
Mm-hmm. And they also have to be killed before you can even start putting wounds on Zarek.
Correct. So the squad in total has 26 wounds.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely disgusting. And
So,
the
yeah,
Minheres have what? Damage 5 guns?
6.
Damage
It's
6 guns.
yeah.
Jesus.
It's 36 range, heavy one, strength 12, AP 4d6.
Yuck.
So
Now I
hilariously,
remember why Vian refused to fight it.
the most consistent heavy gun in the entire Necron line.
Yeah. And note that his floaty throne is being powered by a katan being used as a battery.
Yep.
So it's probably the burning one over here.
What is it?
Yeah, that's the speculation. A shard of the burning one.
Okay, fair. Um, he has he has his own scepter which he attacks with. Like he himself has 6 attacks, and then you get bonus attacks from the two Pharaons who do their own attacks. Like one of them attacks 4 times with his own weapon, another one attacks 3 times with his own weapon. The one that attacks 3 times also can shoot if he wanted to, because it's three
Yeah.
overlords on the throne. He does so much.
Important thing to note that like his Ossiarch Bone Reaper counterpart, he does lose the bonuses the more wounds he takes.
Of course,
Because like the
because you are.
two the two guys die before him.
Yes, correct.
But if he does heal the wound back, they come back to life.
Yes.
It's great. Absolutely, he's great. A lot of Necron lists to be good have to take Zarek. He's just amazing. Like there's no reason not to take him unless you're taking a Tesseract Vault jank list, Monolith jank list, or the Canoptek Swarm.
True. Um, Although he does buff core,
He does buff core, and there are so many core now.
yeah, like he does move 8, so he will keep up with
Scorpex.
Scorpex.
Yeah, honestly, like if you're building a competitive list, you almost always have Zarek in it.
Why wouldn't you? He's the Silent King. He's so cool.
Yeah, he's awesome. So, um, that's about it for the units. Oh, right, Necron fortifications. It's absolute garbage. Don't do it.
Just don't.
Like, like the convergence of
Here, here, look at
Dominion
them.
looks cool, but they're utter garbage. If you want to buy them as terrain, buy them as terrain. Unlike in AOS where the faction terrain feature is free, here you have to pay points for them, and you absolutely do not want to do that. So hard pass, guys. Hard pass unless you just want them as terrain. So, Buyer's Guide to Necrons. In skirmish combat, you only really need an Immortals box and a Warriors box. According to Teacher Mikey, these are the only two boxes you need to build a Tomb World kill team that can function properly in the game. Build the Immortals with your choice of weapon and avoid the death marks, as in 40k. You can try the flayed ones, but you might have an unpleasant game experience.
Because they're slow.
So, in Big Army, you have two choices to start with. You can go with either Combat Patrol or the Elite Edition of the starter set. Now, the Elite Edition will contain your Overlord, you have some Scorpex, you have Necron Warriors, and Scarabs. So, that's a lot of what you need to be able to play competitively. Those are all good. Everything in this box for Necrons is good. Absolutely amazing. If you can still find the old copy of Indomitus, that's even better. If you want to get a Royal Warden for your Silver Tide, you can get the Recruit Edition, which comes with the Royal Warden and the squad of Necron Warriors, which you will always need. Alternatively, you can buy as your first or second buy um, a combat patrol box which comes with immortals and death marks, so you will have 10 immortals basically because you are not building the death marks. You'll have the overlord with the scythe, which is the cooler overlord and the better overlord, to be honest. Three tomb blades and a croissant for lunch. So while it's not going to be the best way to start your army, it still does have a lot of value for already existing Necron players. So I don't suggest the Combat Patrol if you're starting out. You buy it later, and instead you may want to buy multiple Elite editions, and then eventually you get the Silent King, and then you just pad in whatever else you want. But a 6-man score pec unit is gonna be very good for you, so uh, getting two boxes of the Elite Edition and splitting it with a Marine player who will also want two boxes of the Elite Edition would be a very good value. So we also have the World Scour Legion, which is this Christmas battle, the battle box for this Christmas. Um, it's really weird because it has one of a lot of the new models. So if you're an existing Necron player, this is like a really good buy because you have two of the Canoptic Doomstalkers, you have one of the Ophidian Destroyers, you have a Psychomancer, you have a Locust Heavy Destroyer, you have a 5-man squad of Flayed Ones, and you have more Necron Warriors, which you can never have enough of. I have like 40. No, wait. I have 60. I have 60 Necron Warriors. Um, so this is gonna be pretty good value when it comes out. Christmas boxes are always good value. So if you're an existing Necron player, I suggest getting this. But if you're a starting player, get the Elite Edition. So an Elite Edition and a World Scour Legion would be a great way to start up and will get you semi competitive, if not actually competitive. You'll need a few more destroyers of either type and like more flayed ones.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes, ask.
Where would you get a Technomancer?
A Technomancer, you can just buy it. Yeah, you can just buy it.
Okay, because one of the things that the World Scour Legion has is two War of the World Stalkers, so they really want the Technomancer.
Definitely want a Technomancer. So I'm gonna try to build a full canoptic list maybe later or tomorrow, then send it to Esteban, and we're gonna be talking about it on the group chat. So if you're not a member of the either the Warhammer 40k or Warhammer AOS Dragonforge group chats, do let us know in the comments. We'll add you. And if you're not part of Dragonforge Wargaming yet, which is where we post our pre-orders, please do let us know in the comments, and we will add you, or just ask to join and answer the questions. So this is the part of the stream once again. This is actually our longest stream in a long time because we have a lot to say about Necrons being both Necron players. So this is the part of the stream again where we show people's Necrons. So Esteban's Crons.
Yes,
This is
very old pictures though.
yes, this is Esteban's favorite picture of his Necrons, which is where someone vaped on it for smoke effect.
Yeah. This was in a tournament where I was fighting a, if I recall correctly, Chaos Demons player
Yeah, those
and
are cornhounds.
Cornhounds. And yeah, he just offered to be like, you know what? I vape. Let's set up a diorama. So yeah, I set we set this up and he just vaped on it and it looks like that and it's just best picture ever taken.
Yes. Unfortunately, we don't have recent photos for for Esteban's Necrons because they're currently in storage. Yeah,
Yeah,
because of like stuff they're doing at their
renovation.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah, renovations at their house. So they'll come out eventually, and we'll see them again. So these are my favorite photos of Esteban's Necrons, which honestly would be super epic if they weren't fighting Twilight fucking Sparkle. So thanks to Rosa for these pictures, and yeah, I love the. If you see, this is the back of the Necron Overlord with the scythe. It has this really cool cloak which you can really customize, and it's
Yes.
utterly amazing. Those are Lich Guard guarding their Overlord, which is what Lich Guard are supposed to do. You have Esteban's Canoptek Scarab over there, which the Fool did not put
Spider.
guns on. Yeah,
Come
sorry,
on,
Spider. Yeah,
I wanted them to be cheap.
guns. Now there's
No.
12
My
shots each, Esteban.
my points went into wraiths.
12 shots each, Esteban.
My points went into wraiths.
And Doomblade, so it looks like.
Yes, yes. I like Tomb Blades. Tomb Blades are fun. I like them personally.
Yeah,
Like they're solidly decent, but I like them.
they
And
were
Mushroom.
also pretty cheesy during this edition. Like everyone used to bring Doomblades in this edition, but now not so much because they're just okay now.
Yeah.
And these are the old Necron warriors, which only had the Gauss flares. We didn't have the Gauss Reapers back then, and they used to come with these green plastic, uh, transparent plastic things. So they were pretty cool. And if you can see, there's Draco Malfoy on the right, being an objective.
Oh
Yeah,
right, the snitch map.
yeah, the snitch map. So Cash Cup is something we do every year where we have really jank missions, and the Snitch mission is something we do every year, except when there's a plague, where you have a Seeker on both sides, which is the only one able to capture the Golden Snitch um, objective. And the Golden Snitch, of course, moves every single turn. So it's really fun, really hilarious. So it's like playing Quidditch while having a having a Warhammer 40k battle. So this is a picture of one of the tables back then. I actually fluffed a
And
circular deployment zone.
there's the snitch.
Yeah, there's a snitch. Yeah, like on top. I actually built a snitch. So using
Sanguinary guard wings.
sanguinary guard wings, and I just took some green stuff and then rolled it into a ball. So now we have Tito Hesed's Grey Tide. They're unpainted. So I have permission to post them here on the stream to shame him. Tito has said you put in the effort to assemble. Paint your fucking crons. I want to see 18 painted Scorpec destroyers. Though he's gonna prioritize painting his Legio Astorum so that he can join us in Matthew's game next month. And these are my Necrons. Because of the croissants, I decided to make my Necrons entirely French themed. So behold, Zarek the 14th, the Sun King. So instead of Pharaoh sharing his throne, you have like a couple of golden lions, and instead of the Catan powering it, we have like a golden sun with the coat of arms of the kings of France on top, in the middle. You also have the coat of arms all over the place, and if you look closely, the his cloak does have a lot of little yellow fleur de lis, and there are like coat of arms also on the back. So those are custom printed transfers. So these are my spiders, Esteban. Look at my spiders.
Yeah, the old ones.
Yes, these are the old metal spiders. And when I got these secondhand, one of the spiders literally had a dead spider with a web inside like the legs, and it was really gross. But I took it as a sign that like the spiders have spiders. So I actually built them and painted them, and now suddenly they're good with 36 shots each. Wait, sorry, with 12 shots each for 36 shots for the lump of them. So that's Mama Scarab and her two baby scarabs. Sorry, Mama Spider and her two baby spiders. This is also my Tesseract Vault, and that's a Grey Knight for scale. It's absolutely ginormous. I actually have trouble storing it because um it barely fits my shelves. It's just so big. If you buy one, you may wanna assemble it such that you don't glue the obelisk parts to the center so that you can store it more easily. So that's something you can do. And the Transcendent Catan in the middle is actually removable, so I can play him as a Transcendent Catan. It's magnetized, and if you look closely, the ball in the center of the platform where the Transcendent Catan is standing on is painted as a Pokeball because he's basically a Pokemon. So, let's talk about our calendar for the rest of November. So we're having pre-orders again on Monday. I'm expecting the pre-orders for the Christmas boxes to come out on Monday. So hang on for those. And then instead of faction focused Signar, as we discussed before, we're gonna have a War Machine, a War Mahords primer featuring our friend Jonathan Lansang, who has read all the rules and internalized them. He loves reading, so that's not really a burden for him. And that's about it for our stream. Thank you, Esteban, for joining us today and talking about the Necrons.
Oh, Necrons!
Yes, so we hope to see you again, like gaming sometime soon. We're gonna be. By the way, guys, we will be reopening the Forge for games starting Monday. I'll be posting up reservation and health protocol tips this weekend. So wait for that, and then you can start reserving the Warhammer table or start playing Magic again on the outside tables. Though I may have to remind people that we do require proof of vaccination. So do make sure that you have been vaxxed before you show up to play. So Esteban, is there anything else you want to pahabol?
Nah, I'm good. We talked a
All right.
lot about prawns.
Yeah, this has actually been our longest stream in a long while. We're at like 2.5 hours. But there was a lot. Like 20 minutes of that was just entirely the Nightbringer.
He's just that
He
good.
deserves he
He
deserves it.
deserves it. He deserves it.
Yeah. So I hope to see more people playing Necrons. They haven't been doing very well in ninth, but now with the core boost, we're gonna be seeing a lot of them again. So once again, this is Kesh and Esteban signing off for Dragonforge After Dark. Please like and subscribe to all our social media, to our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And we will see you next week. Ciao la.
Bye bye.